Hey, everybody. My name is Bruce, and
Hi.
me and Kai are here tonight. We're going to do a kind of a special show. Uh, got a few things I want to discuss. A lot of people that we know are game masters, and they love the games. They love tabletop. They are what we consider probably some of the most ardent thinkers out there. I wish I could be considered one of them for the fact that I don't do nearly as much stretching as, say, someone like Kai here. And Kai has his own spot on a Discord channel of mine. He just kind of throws out brain candy or brain droppings, however you want to look at it.
And I have a lot of time to think about it too. So
I I wish I had your verbosity. I wish I had that. I wish I could just write as much as you do. You you do so fucking well, man.
I run a lot of it between at stoplights and at truck stops when I still drove. But now that I fly a desk, so I drive a desk all day now. I do it in between complaint calls from my various from my various shops.
Fair enough. Six Nation 31 Kings says that he's a bit early. Crafting Gamer follows up with that. Hello. Climbing that mountain. How are you doing, sir? Hope you're doing well today.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I want to kind of go back to the beginning on your rants that you have here, and a simple opening about statement of intentions. I know it's been hinted at on Thursday streams. I tend to write a lot of musings, straight thoughts, and others of a myriad of topics from rules and concepts. Those thoughts are isolated in these chats, not in public. And some think that's a detriment, and I'm prone to agree. Channels and servers have momentum. The ideas of the server's host add angular momentum to a conversation. Their personalities tend to create a chorus that's being the discordant voice doesn't fall into the harmony established by the server forum channel owner and denizens. It's not really a good place for debate or even a showcase, let alone if you desire to just put something in the wild and get, and this is very important, constructive criticism meant to actually do something other than set off people into a flurry of retardation.
Retardation.
Lately, for some odd reason, my Discord's had a little bit of drama here and there. And I told both gentlemen, I'm like, guys, you guys don't have to get along.
You don't.
But like trying to call each other names isn't going to get anywhere.
No.
And I think they'll eventually work that out. It's just, uh, when you have someone who's untested, that's actually probably the worst it's going to be. And they have to get experience in life, and they have to do things, and then the other people are like, okay, now we can talk because we can have a conversation. You've been somewhere, you've done things.
Yeah, it's that comment of I think it comes from that similar mentality of, hey, could you talk about this thing? And then you just kind of go, no, I can't, because you can't relate unless you can see at some point where you can connect with them. And I think that it's that barrier between the people who know and people you don't know. And trust me, the people who know can tell who doesn't know. But if you don't know, you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah. And when you don't know, that's kind of like the worst handicap out there because you're still trying to function, and other people are like, I'm just waiting for the knowledge to get imparted to you, whatever knowledge or experience that may be. And we might have to wait years for this.
And the thing is that it's really hard for some of us to actually like. Some of us want to help people through that barrier, but it's really hard without a frame of reference, and they end up having to lecture for a significant amount of time trying to provide the context that they need. And sometimes it works. So there are people who just figure it out, and those are wonderful people. But it is almost like I hate to say it, like there is almost that brotherhood mentality to it. That once you're like, it's so much better once you know some of the in jokes, some of the comments, some of the attitudes, and some of us are, and we're a very odd group to begin with. So
we are. So most of tonight's conversation, we'll interact with chat, of course. We're nothing without chat. As much as there are people out there that don't acknowledge chat, they don't want to be on YouTube. I don't mind having an audience for this because I think the exchange of ideas is actually where we grow.
It is. Also, I don't want to leave it to I will ignore all chat unless it's super chats. Please send money to me. No, that's not how it works.
No, that's your. Although I will say that for tonight, if I do receive any super chats, I will forward it to a friend of mine who is in need. It's actually one of me and Kai's friends. He's just kind of down on his on some things right now. So, like, if you understand what I just said and you feel like giving, it will not go to me. It'll be churned immediately to my friend, to our friend. And I don't want to say his name. I don't want to have any negative materials go towards him verbally or in text. But one of my close friends, through real life and YouTube, just is in a position of need. And so anything that you throw will be churned directly to him. We will go after this is over and we'll go dump money into his channel just so he can help get back to his feet, because I want him to not be at a spot in need. The guy's got a lot of good mentality there. He's got a lot of
definitely like that.
Others out. Exactly like this.
We'll help
you don't have to do that either.
You don't have to, but thank you.
Anything like this is going to get churned directly to him, because there's no need for me to keep it whenever I've got a friend that, he's looking at internet. I have to cut out internet. No, your entire hobby, your half of your income comes off the internet. No, we're not going to let this get cut off. So appreciate that. Hello, Mr. Barninger. How you doing tonight, sir? And Free Merchant Courses, gaming's for everybody, but not every table is. I think the same for Discord and forums.
Right. And honestly, a lot of the origins of this came from the fact that a lot of our conversations were happening at that time were on, say, while I do like to occasionally go there, I understand that, where's it hiding at? I have it somewhere on my Discord list here. It's like I like the Legion of Myth, but unfortunately, if there's already a culture built up around the hosts there, they're great guys, but I don't always agree with them. And if I try to, if I was wanting to step out of the line at the time and say something, I would have to go against not just the momentum of my own words going against somebody else's. I'm going against the momentum that has already built up from their hosts, their servers, and their fans that carried on over into those channels. So therefore, it's not really a conductive. I want to just put my knowledge out there to stand on its own. I know other servers that I've been to. It's like I've gone to, say, like the major podcast servers. They're a little bit more open because they're just a really whacked out, weird community, and I love them to death. And Terry Robinson's a fantastic host, and they're open to a lot of interpretation. But meanwhile, if I go to something, say, like the Black Pants Legion or the auxiliary channels, there's a culture there that's built up that stands, and it works really well. Works really well about that. So at the time, back in October of last year, I asked, "Hey, can I just have a channel that I can write, that I can just stand on that if you don't like it, you can ignore it. There's no real traction. And if my thoughts and ideas grew into being something interesting, you could jump into it. You could jump in and tell me I'm a fucking retard, or not, or say that's a good idea. All I wanted to do as I was throwing these ideas out was I just wanted a place for for me to throw an idea out and not have it washed away by 20, 30 other people's variations. But I also as I said in that opening post, there is a momentum to it. I like their channels, but their channels are their channels. They should be able. They've already got their momentum. I wanted to build my own, and by now here I am. What close to 9 months later, working on this chat, on my little corner of the internet. Yeah, it's mine now. I've built it. I've enjoyed it, and I'm glad. It's like I'm glad that it's quiet, but there's a few people who interact, and I really, really appreciate that interaction. And I also like the fact that if nobody interacted with me, I'd still write. It's still my own little blog post, but I hope somebody reads it and somebody goes, okay, I don't agree 100%, and I expect nobody to agree with me 100%, but I want someone to be able to go, but there's a nugget there I could grab and take it, to make a better conversation, a better my game a hair better, or hey, maybe I can process that. That's all my goals and my intentions are. So
Pretty noble, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And I've always valued your input at tables. I always got upset because our schedules weren't quite, like, hey, I can't be at his table and he can't be at mine. Damn it. This is like what most of us brothers go through, the pain of Lady Hawk, like we can be together kind of, but not really when we really want to be together.
Right. But no, it's like, but hey, but the thing is that this is what friends are like, and well, that's life. And hey, everybody who's joined us. And
yeah,
I hope and Max, I hope that that conversation you had with your mods was a good one and a productive one. I'm sorry I'm not able to pay attention as much as I would like to. So
yeah, he said he had this conversation last night with his moderators, and we had a long conversation last night anyway. But it was a lot of fun. Lady joins the chat. Hey. This is kind of what the location I'm talking about is on my Discord channel, so I'll just throw the link out there again. If you're not part of this, if you like the exchange of ideas, I'm not saying that like we have Socrates in there, but
no.
I will say that if you like an exchange of ideas, we do have some interesting people in there. As long as you're not in there parodying like Karl Marx, I'm pretty much not going to just fling you out. You can get in arguments and shouting matches over dumb things with people, and I won't throw you out. I'll counsel you and be like, I think you need to give this person a berth. I think you need to not go so close to them. I think you are misinterpreting some things from what I'm seeing, but I don't want to throw you out. You'd start parodying Marx, though, I'm going to fucking throw you out in your head. No.
Honestly, if someone went to my channel and was going and parodying Marx, I would kind of go, look, if it's in my little Musings channel, please keep it somehow to be find a game mechanic and a way to make it functions. It has to be game related. If you're in my little corner and you're posting bullshit, make sure it's game related, or put some bullshit rules to make it work, and then we can critique the fuck out of it and figure out how to make this thing playable. That's all my goals are usually towards. So
that's pretty admirable, because there's China Meeville, one of the better left of center writers out there, and he's not great. There's some things he does really well, and his narratives are fun, but in his own narrative itself, you can see the weavings of his ideology, and I just kind of have a problem with that. But his stories are still pretty fun. I don't understand how he's able to do that and craft that. I applaud him for it, because he's definitely better at writing than I am on some things, and he's made his income that way. I've never made income on writing, but I pretty much would. He's probably the most leftist individual I've ever listened to, and I do appreciate his contributions to a lot of the books I've read. Michael Stackpole used to be really good military science fiction writer, wrote really fun books. I I caught a stream of his where somebody was interviewing him at a convention, and my God, I thought Max was exaggerating. He's
No.
really unable to have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of the new housing development in SA has a lagoon built into it? Ooh, I believe that might be on the eastern side of town. If I'm thinking it's over by Lavernia, I think that's where one of them is. There are other areas where they're putting ponds right in the development itself. Out in Fredericksburg and up towards Interstate 10 to the west, you have a lot of that on the ranches that they've developed into communities with buried utilities and everything that could go wrong is going to be underground. So whenever we do have our New Madrid fault line earthquake, it'll rupture everything properly. My parents just got their power back on an hour ago. They've been out of power for over 36 hours. My father, ever a survivalist, he does have a generator. So protecting from mosquito plague. How dare he insult our state bird? Lavernia is where she wants to move. Yeah, Lavernia is a great place. I want land there. There's about 12 acres I want that was for sale for 140,000 last year. Sackable twice. He's normal on both occasions, but something happened to him during Baby Bush's presidency, and he's turned into a buffoon. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
yay, Shadowrun! No.
I want to like Shadowrun. I look at the art for Shadowrun. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's mullets and long trench coats and big fucking guns in a split second sort of way. And then like I start to get into the guts of the system, and I'm like, God, I hate this.
No. It's a fun setting, but the rules the rules are out to hate you, and you should hate the rules. Don't worry, it's okay.
Yeah. So the thing is that whenever you're talking just ideas with people, you could say the most Mitt Romney bland ass vanilla thing in the world, and somebody out there is going to get insulted by it. Like you've just insulted somebody's hero, the man whose picture that they got when they bought the frame at Walmart. There's that really bland ass white guy, Mitt Romney, sitting in your picture frame. You got to wad that up and throw it away, and then put whatever picture you're putting in there. You notate on here, tempers might flare, insults might fly. I am not professional in my writing or speech. I'm not politically correct. Too long of blue collar folk. I'm not here to please a preacher, a bald headed fuck, which Twitch, Amazon, Bezos, some inhuman algorithm, YouTube or Facebook, or whatever sacred cow is out there. But in the end, after people are done punching, at least pull the other guy back to their feet, because tomorrow they will probably be working or staying with you. That's kind of how men operate.
Yeah.
We had a lot of guys on my first ship that just hated each other. But for the amount of time that you're stuck on post, you can't really just like, I don't want to work with Jones anymore, and you walk off the side of the ship and disappear in the ocean. You can't do that. You got to work with Jones until his time and your time is up.
I'm sorry. I'm picturing a horrible Monty Python-esque sketch of fuck Jones just walking off the boat and disappearing outside. Hey, where'd Smith go? Sploosh. Chug. I quit. Blah 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 blah.
Listen, insert name here says something that it's near and dear to my heart. Larry Niven's name was brought up last night, and there's so few people that seem to know or be interested of the Mancuzin series. I'm reminded of Larry Niven every time I walk into my front room, because there is an unopened box of Twilight Imperium 4th edition with the fucking cat person on the cover. And I think that's probably one of the greatest contributors to the science fiction, modern sci-fi that we've got. And I am so sad that so few people at game stores and bookstores talk about what Niven did for us. Not just the stuff with the Mankazin, but just the things with the Star Trek, the other associated licensees he's held and franchise universes he's wanted to contribute to. He's just a very good writer, a very solid person from what I've read about.
Yeah. Actually, I climbed that mountain. You can actually run Shadowrun in Pathfinder's first edition because they released the Cyberknight, the technical guidebook. I forget what the exact book is.
Oh, you're talking about the Numeria, not Numeria. It's the world where they had the spaceship crash into it.
Right. Yeah.
And
but the thing here is that if you know Shadowrun well enough, you can actually find enough similarities between what grade of cyberware you're looking at, what bonuses you're looking at, and then find an equivalency in that guidebook. And you can suddenly go, okay, there's now a point where the two connect, and you can now expand out and go, well, here's cyberware and bioware that weren't thought about by the Pathfinder crew, but thankfully I've got man-machine interface from 3rd edition, which has way more than brain than you should ever allow in a game. Boom. And suddenly you're going, do we need to start having rules for humanity loss or cyber psychosis start coming in here? And the thing is, if you also have cyberpunk, you have almost the same cyberware or similarities, and you can start making connections, and suddenly you're now grabbing from more than like I now have books from, say, Traveler, from Cyberpunk, from Shadowrun, and I'm dragging them all kicking and screaming and going, thankfully I now have a meeting point where all of you can all be usable, so when people are like, oh, I'm going to have fun, and that's when you have Adam Smasher show up, beat the living fuck out of somebody, then go walking the fuck off, because that's what a high level character looks like, is that close to fucking insanity. And honestly, it's almost no effort at that point. It becomes what rule set are people familiar with. I don't need to run cement mixer of D6s. I can run D20, or I can run D10s. I can run with various D100s. Oh, well, now that we've gotten Traveler, I can grab Twilight 2000 because, nuclear weapons and biological warfare is a good thing. We should explore that more. And suddenly people are going, wait, this game is really, it's honestly just a game. It's a really cool way of telling a narrative in as many fun ways as possible. And I want you all to starve horribly on food and get food poisoning. So we're going to use survival rules from this book. And then you pull out Twilight 2000 and people go, oh, we're all going to die now, aren't we? Yeah. Or get out your survival handbooks and figure out how not to die. I don't want to die tough. But I want to die in combat. That's a luxury that only heroes get. Fucker. I understand. I would prefer cement mixers of D6s, honestly. I really would. But my problem is that not everyone wants to run with a cement mixer, and not everyone has a cement mixer of D6s. I do, but...
And I apologize. You might be seeing my text input twice. StreamYard has just inputted a thing where you can connect your YouTube channel to your StreamYard account. So before, the host could always type in chat, and it would just appear, blah, it's typing in chat. Well, now you get that plus my input from YouTube. So it hits you twice. I'm sorry about that.
And insert name here, yes. I understand. Not everyone is a fan of dice pool games. And that's why having the ability to move mechanics from one game engine to a nest. So I've had groups where we have an Orc Wah worth of D6s between all of us, and we're proud and we're happy. But the thing is that there are times when I don't have it, like when I'm like, okay, everybody, what engine do we want to play? And it'll be a D20 engine, and I'm like, well, I can still tell a narrative that I want and use the mechanics I want because I put the work in to get to that point. So therefore, like, are we playing with 400 D10s? Cool, we're good. D6s I build a house out of D6s, we're cool. A D100 system, we're still good. Honestly, it's like it just comes with being flexible, and that's honestly what I kind of want to have. What I always kind of push for is if there's something, figure out how to grab everything and use everything, because you shouldn't be limited to, man, if only we were playing this game, my guy would have the ability to have this really cool weird ass sword from obscure region of Southeast Asia, and it would fit my character really well. Like, well, then why aren't you figuring out how to do that? Well, but it's not in my book. Okay, yeah, and just move on. You don't need the book. You're right. You just need to be able to go, this is a cool character. It's like, well, you're not from this region. Why can't I don't have to, like, my culture isn't from this region, but I can play that character because I'm putting the effort in to make this interesting, and I want the culture shock aspect. I want to explore that aspect. Okay, you've made a case. Now let's go do some work. Bring out the paperwork, and we'll start making something interesting.
And for those of you that are on Rumble that we are not broadcasting to live right now, I do apologize. When I was doing my test earlier today, just to make sure I would be able to get everything uploaded and streamed properly, Rumble was failing that test. And I know that sucks that we don't have the ability to be live over there, but at least you will be receiving the syndicated version of this with no edits. I am recording this as well, so if YouTube decides to edit something out, I can upload the entire thing back complete and full. Turn all those D6 into marbles. And we kind of do repeat ourselves. You can import audio and visual from Discord into StreamYards, as far as I know. In fact, you should be able to do that. I'll ask Jade if we can get that, because I know people that they stream to Discord and they do this. They go from Discord to StreamYard, and then it uploads to YouTube and uploads to Rumble and Kick and all that stuff. Hey, Swebase Jeremy, how you doing? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of black humor that's going to be happening.
Oh yeah.
So just expect that. That's the only warning that you ever get, is like there may be some laughter and it may be at somebody else's pain.
Yeah. And I do believe that a lot of what I said about conversions is literally my next entries.
Yeah, your next entry is completely about conversions. You
Yeah.
make house rules to better tailor what you have, so you can do everything you want to. And you want to always use the right tool and all that bullshit, but sometimes you use what you got to do what you need at the time you need it. And that, like, you could run Star Wars D6 for fantasy if you so choose, but if you have a system you really like 3.x or 5th edition, you would probably gravitate towards those instead, unless there's just absolutely something with the cement mixer of D6s that you absolutely got to have. I don't know many people that really go to Star Wars for fantasy.
No, but I have used the Star Wars D6 engine for near future cyberpunk gaming. Done post-apocalyptic with it. Haven't quite gone so far back to fantasy, but I'm pretty sure that if you can reverse engineer the force system backwards into, probably do something more interesting than force powers. But honestly, you have the framework that you can build from. And actually, I think you could with the idea of sense force control, you could actually probably expand out into I'd probably add a few extra spheres, and this is going to be pulling in a little bit from, say, like Mage the Ascension, and kind of evolve that into a sphere-based system, and kind of work out powers based and create a much more flexible casting engine. So that way, it isn't quite just simply I use telekinesis. No, I have workout ranges. It'd be no, this is a lot of theory cutting. I'm sorry about that. But I mean, you could just start working out from that point and radiating out. So if you wanted to put the work in, it wouldn't be that hard to. But this would also be putting into the hands of players who are not creative. And I know, because I used to be in this boat of not knowing getting given all the power of creativity and not knowing anything to do with it. I mean, legitimately not knowing. Because, like, if you went back to, so here's 45-year-old me trying to yell at 19-year-old me trying to play Mage the Ascension for the first time, and I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Like, it was too much for me to figure out. Modern today me, fuck yeah, understood. Can do this all day long. But I have a feeling that if I was to give a Magic system that was versatile and really creative, I'd have players going, I don't know what to do, because they haven't been exposed to enough. And thus, I think and I think this is why we do have the here's your locked in stone, this is what Magic does, which is kind of bullshit. I don't like it in the first place. Mentality of Magic's kind of stamp cutter and no, it's kind of crap. I kind of want, but I also understand that most people look at that and go, yeah, I'm like, I understand, kiddo. I understand.
A moment of silence required, because one of our good friends, Mr. Flady1, a very, I guess you call him one of our most diligent. He's here for every stream. At the very least, he pops in chat. Hey guys, I'm driving. Please be safe. I'll listen later. He does that sort of thing. At the very least, he does that. Flady had a casualty in his kitchen today.
Oh no.
His head, if you could just solemnly bow your head. That's his coffee maker died this morning.
It will be missed and then replaced.
So say we all.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Flady. I understand that pain, but thankfully, hopefully you live near a Walmart that sells you a $15, 28-cent 12-cup coffee brewer. It is a miserable model. It will last you approximately 734 days before it will burn out too. But it is a well-designed 738 days of brewing coffee.
I have a car battery, some converters, and the power's out. I will have coffee this morning. God damn it!
Crafting Gamer's about 15,000 words in on his rough draft for his system. Good job. 31 pages.
All right. Gotta have some fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we do have to have some fun here. So your conversions, you work with mainly a lot of D&D 3.x or PF1 or PF2 or whatever.
Only because of the fact that trying to get people to go up to other engines is difficult. Not difficult, but they're hesitant. Plus the fact that everyone and their dog understands it. So therefore, if I put a concept out in those terms, everyone's going to understand it. If I was to put something out, say in Mech Warrior terms or Traveler terms, a few people will understand. If I put it out in, say, Seven Seas terms, a few people might go, I've heard that game once. I played it 20 years ago. There wouldn't be the common bridge to be able to have a conversation. So kind of using the D20 as kind of the, hey, everybody, you all know this. Here's terms of, this is a familiarity that we'll use to move forward a concept. So therefore, plus boy, is it always fun to have kids kind of go, hey, we're gonna get. It's like I'm sitting here, painting miniatures or assembling something at the at my weekly school thing, and then here comes some new young fresh faces going, hey, we're starting a new campaign. What engine? And it's something. It's Pathfinder 1. I'm like, okay, all right. You ever thought about Dark Heresy? No. Warhammer Fantasy Battles? Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay? No. Okay.
Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is vastly underplayed, and it's probably my favorite fantasy system if we're not putting Dungeons and Dragons in that running. And it's not for any other reason than the fact that just if you need to do a test or challenge, it's literally one D100 roll, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
And honestly, when they rolled out Dark Heresy First Edition and all of its subsequent evil clones of Rogue Trader, Only War, and all the other games, a bunch of us were like, well, it's literally just somebody repolished up Warhammer Fantasy Warhammer Fantasy for us now. It's different enough to be different, but it's playable, and we were able to just enjoy it. So yeah, I put those two in the same boat of they're playable, they're fun, they're gruesome. Boy, is it bloody as fuck. And yeah, are the rules perfect? No. Are they playable? Yes.
Yeah.
And I also like the idea of I'm playing a spellcaster. Oh dear fucking god, get the fuck away from us. I'm going to do something weird. Poof. What just happened? Our mage died.
That's kind of like the time that I actually got a chance to play DCC. I rolled up a halfling. I was nice. And then the guy right next to me, he rolled up a human butcher with like a 16 intelligence, we found out at the funnel. And so like after we beat the entry dungeon, which was like we were both down to low handful of hit points each. We were the only 2 out of like 10 that survived that. His level up went into wizard. And I'm like, what the hell? I've got 3 hours available. Let's play this. And first combat, I died. I was a fighter, or no, I was a dwarf or a halfling, but basically you're a fighter, and you can do some like crafty like sneak around. It's basically D&D with the 3X engine. Is what DCC is. Well, this guy is like, he's the only one surviving this first level adventure after we get our first level. And he ends up meeting with the goblin or orc. It was a goblin shaman that had stolen basically the pie of the adventure MacGuffin. And the wizard gets there and he kills like 3 or 4 other monsters with his spells. He's doing really good. He's having fun. He's getting kind of cocky, but he gets down to less than 10 mana points. And then he gets down to less than 5, and the monster is attacking, missing. The DM is just having a standard, like it's Jade rolling dice. Jade, God bless you, but you can't roll above a 4 on a D20 when I need you to roll a fucking 17, And that's this guy. He casts this spell, but every time you cast a spell, you get to roll the percentile dice. And he turns into this pile of shit goo as he's trying to cast magic missile because he thinks he's got the goblin on the ropes. Goblin's described as he's bleeding out of multiple cuts. He can't have much gas left in him. And so he casts his magic missile spell and exhausts all his mana points and gets to roll on his super deadly D100 chart, and he dies. He just burbles up. He rolled like something horrible. And during the goo at the very end of the movie Time Cop, when the 2 men touch each other, yeah,
yes.
that sort of explosion of gore and viscera, and that's what I like about DCC. It's very unpredictable. It's very nasty and gruesome, and it's the same thing that I love about Warhammer Fantasy Battles or Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, because if you have a wizard in that, you can have the same level of happen to you in that, as you do with this. Magic's unpredictable.
Yeah, I think it's like I like playing a game and literally having a a minor manifestation, a minor manifestation of the warp occurring, and all of a sudden we all have, the walls are bleeding again. We all kind of look at the psyker. What did you do? I tried to see what was on the other side of the door, and now I forgot how to tie my shoes. Oh, where did I put my keys? Because the malfunction was you forget one minor thing, and and like everyone in the everyone in a certain radius has now forgot something inconsequential, and now we're all sitting going, how do I tie my shoes? Where's my keys? Did I pay my phone bill? We're all sitting here like trying to think about what the hell did we forget? What did we forget? I don't know what we forgot. I forgot it. And the GM just laughing his ass off at us. Or, the walls bleeding, or we're hearing echoes of things that were said, and it's like, I like those kind of weird things, but I also like watching our wizard get grabbed by a greater demon, and yanked screaming into the warp, and going, that was a good day.
I enjoy that level of chaos in a game. It's not you can't have that all the time for me, but you can enjoy it.
You can't have it all the time. Yeah. Oh.
He was buying a $200 coffee maker. I just put in the chat my $12.87 coffee maker, which will last you 738 days of regular use. It's not a great coffee maker. It'll make you coffee.
Yeah.
I know. I need to up my game. I get it.
No. Look, at 5:30 in the morning when I'm stumbling around making coffee, first thing, I don't need it to be high tech or require a lot of steps. I just need to be able to change filter, add garbage into it, add water, push button, go off for shower. That's all I need.
I'm a big fan of stumbling into the kitchen, getting in front of the grinder, grind the beans, and at the time where I lift the lid from the bean grinder, that's when I start to wake up. Cutting the beans for me is almost better than drinking the coffee. That is a divine smell that when God made that smell, that was like the thing that I absolutely fell in love with the entire habit. I might not drink all of my coffee in a day, but I will be very unhappy if I don't get to use my bean grinder.
I need a new one badly.
Dude, the Cuisinarts are only $13 at Walmart.
Okay.
So anyway, you work from like a common framework and from common ground, and you want people to develop their games from there. It's the shorthand, the engine that you use, and it makes jumping in a lot easier than having to go back to a 101 course and hope everybody can catch up. All right, guys, we're doing Shadowrun first edition. Especially if you're doing like postgraduate style play, you need something that's familiar.
Yeah. I much like how, like when I'm dealing with certain kind of war gamers, I'm reading a little bit farther ahead about how I've done weird ass conversions because I know it's like some people just want to debate the minutia, and I again I play I do a lot of BattleTech. That's my predominant war game. It's a beer and pretzels game. If that's all you want to play, is beer and pretzels. But I've dealt with assholes for so long, bitching about the ranges are so damn short, and then I'm like going, have you put some thought into it? Have you put some work into it? And then starting to pull out a map, and then going, do you know how far 30 meters really is? And then they're like, not really. And I'm like, just go out drive. Like, this is for like anyone who's out driving. It's like, yeah, you're only looking at approximately about three and a half white dashes on the road. Oh, yeah, that's what you're looking at. It's like, it's 40 feet, 40 feet, 40 feet. And like, oh, suddenly I'm like, okay, now start figuring out this. And then pulling out an overlay and throwing it onto a map, zooming out this is the fun. I hate it, but I like being able to pull it out on, pull it up on the big screen. Like, this is the best part about working at working at a school is going, hey Luke, could you put this up on the big screen? And then throw the map out up onto a big just big white billboard, whiteboard, digital board out there, and then be able to get out the stick like you're playing, like you're some kind of like horrible old general or something, giving a lecture to a bunch of idiots sitting around a table, a bunch of politicians around a table, and then point at things and going, all right, now I need you to zoom up the map to here and here. I'm working the controls, and then throwing the overlay of what a 30-meter hex grid looks like over an area that they know in real life, and going, now this is where you're at. This is what you're actually looking at. Because there's a comment I heard a long time ago from an old tanker when he's like, "Yeah, I can shoot 3 kilometers. Find me 3 kilometers I can see." And he's like, but kids are like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to just take up, say, a single street in downtown Peoria, and like Bruce, you'll know it, University, from 74 down to down looking towards War Memorial.
Yes,
that's a straight road. That's about 2-3 kilometers. You can't see that far. There's too many hills, trees, and other weird shit in the way. And that's the straightest goddamn road in town. And people are like, I don't. Yeah, you really can't do shit. And I'm like, now here's an average map size through the map down on and what a single map sheet is, and go, that's the graveyard. It's like right next to the the USDA building right off 74.
Mm-hmm.
One map sheet is about the size of the graveyard next to it. And suddenly people are like, oh, that's actually not that. Yeah. And we're playing on usually a 2x2 map sheet, kids. And they are like, oh, it's not actually as short range as you think it is, kiddos. But you think it is. But on StatStar, find me 3 kilometers. But then again, I've also, I played the TRO for 1945, which gives you the realistic ranges. If you didn't want to play map scale and you wanted to play 6mm scale, you could see where the conversions are, and then suddenly go, okay, so the heavy rifle is actually only a range 15 hexes weapon. In actually, make sure before I go on record saying a bullshit term, do my own actual fact checking.
It happens.
Do my own fucking fact check. Make sure I know. Okay, 18 hexes. So when 18 hexes range, but when it says that, oh no, the 88 millimeters actually coincides to the heavy rifle. The 88 to 90 millimeter gun is actually a heavy BattleTech rifle, and that has a range of 18 hexes, which is technically only about 400, about a little less than 600 meters in range, or if you play it in 6mm scale range, you're looking at like several kilometers engagement ranges, and that's what range 18 is. Now you can start doing some math out and going, well, actually that makes the ERPPC actually shooting out to about 4.5 kilometers, maybe almost out to 5. And then but that's when I laugh and go, find me 5 kilometers of open range. I can see somebody to kill them. And then suddenly you start looking at maps, any map, pull out anything, anywhere you go, and try to see if you can see 5 kilometers. And, sure, if we're going to go play some Desert Warfare garbage or play something that's out on the the flat steppes of the Ukraine, sure, you might be able to see that far. But I live in Peoria. I cannot, for the life of me, trying to find anywhere I can see 5 kilometers on a flat level plane that wasn't just simply me parking my ass with binoculars and a rangefinder out on Grandview Drive and staring out across the river valley and going, yeah, I could possibly see somebody driving on Upper Spring Bay Road between all the trees at that distance. Oh, good. But good luck finding but yeah, okay, so the artillery guy gets to have fun, but nobody else gets to have fun. But
now this is a rarity for most of you war gamers, where you hear the artillery guy gets to have fun, but nobody else gets to have fun.
Right.
But yeah. There's not a whole lot of flat ground near Peoria. The entire Illinois River Valley itself is just one long hilly slog, and
it is.
It's just a river valley. I mean, that's kind of weird how the river fucked up the land like that. But if you go anywhere else in Illinois, it's flat. You can see 7 miles in any direction flat.
Right. But the thing here is that I had the same now I've done this exact same thought. Now I'm going to give you an idea of what some of my friends and I used to do when we were bored on long car trips, and that was, it started out as a joke theory of, when we were trying to figure out how to do something. It was the idea of a medieval war between, if you were to transport Peoria and Bloomington Normal into a medieval war, in a medieval setting, and have them go to war. 2 baronies, 2 rather large kingdoms. If you look at it from that point of view, with the similar populations, the exact same map problem, and suddenly we ran into vast issues of Peoria is the worst place in the universe to fucking go after. We read it was like, it's just miserable. The creeks, the waters, it's just miserable, and it became slowly this evolution of thought processes and experiments that all led towards trying to figure out how the fuck do you knock out a kingdom that's, if you were ever to think of because this is the thing, is that this is also how you can look at how you can play any game, is look anywhere you're driving, anywhere you go, and try to figure out how does this function? Like, how would you use wherever you're at as terrain, or for a scenario, or for an encounter, where if I wanted to do a really interesting BattleTech scenario, I could literally just throw a map down and have a knockout, drag-out fight right down University Street from Bradley down to the Metro Center, and have that be just a murder slog of fucking fun.
As much as that would be fun with the M50 Ontos,
yeah,
there's also there's a lot of not fun there too.
No, it's horrible. And the thing was this slowly became like a horrible thought experiment for a bunch of us who do this as a hobby, and some of us have degrees in this subject, and we've literally thrown this puzzle at people who supposedly are really smart people who have experience, and they all go, oh fuck, and yeah, yeah, think about it, start working this problem. And it's in essence, it's our way of going, well, welcome to our group, here's our fleet problem, boom, find a solution, what's your solution to this? And suddenly have people go, oh motherfucker, this one's it's a fun game, it's a fun thought process game that I get to see. And I now have enough responses to this now where I can go, oh, okay, I can see where you're. And now we have conversations. People no. Go look at the topographic maps and go see the swamps that are to the south, or the valleys and ravines to the east and the west, or the horrible muck that is the river basin to the north. It's horrible, and they're like, this whole city's shit. I'm like, it is. Welcome to my hell, and God, and trying to go figure out how to do this with Napoleonics. Figure out how to do it with the Roman Legion or the Revolutionary War. Figure out how you're going to do this with what eras, and people and their brains start to actually grind and start to figure out what the hell. Oh, I see what. And the thing is, I've done this exact thought experiment too, where there are actually parts on 74 if you're driving from Bloomington to Peoria, where I could drive a convoy of semi trucks off of one of the side roads, and if you were only thinking about looking off from 74 east or west, north or south, you would never fucking see any of these fuckers. Maybe for a few moments, you'll see like, I'm doing 80 miles an hour down the road, and you look out to your right, and you catch a glimpse from behind a small little dirt rise. Because honestly, actually, there's a whole the terrain's actually really, really wavy and hilly, where you could just I just want to drive an entire convoy of trucks right past a bunch of cops who are sitting on the interstate, and nobody will fucking realize you're doing it as this horrible 1970s convoy goes burning down the road at high speed. They're like, what the fuck's going on? And yeah, it's like people are saying, well, I'm like, yeah, line of sight. This is all things you got to worry about. This is things things that you could consider. It's like, it looks so flat. And I'm like, yeah, until you're actually, now mind you, I only thought about, I only really put all this together because I drove that damn road twice, six times a day for close to a year and a half. So I got really intimate with all the terrain variety that's between fucking Peoria and Bloomington Normal and Champaign. Really, really, really familiar with it now.
That happens. A lot of drivers will actually echo what you just said there, and you're going along and you're used to like the sound of your tires, the sound of your shocks, and if they've done road construction or road maintenance in the recent now this is a fictional discussion here because I'm talking about Illinois, but if they've done any like repairs or patchwork to the road, this complete fabrication. No, that never happened in Illinois.
That doesn't work in our state.
They never touch the interstate with like a giant vat of tar that fills the hole completely and stays there. They use the lowest grade of tar possible, which is going to be eager to splash out of that hole, and so they can have that problem yet again in a 3-month period.
Oh, I know. Or they begin a 4-year repair project for 3 miles of road. Fuck
yeah. We're going to plant a shovel here, and a speed limit will now be enacted for 45 miles per hour. You truckers, because there was a hill, you won't even see 45 miles per hour because your 80,000 pounds will drag you down to 40 miles per hour.
Yep.
It's one of those miserable things, and Illinois truck drivers know my pain as I recant this, but I remember that, like you would hear the sound of the road, and all of a sudden you're jarred out of the song you're enjoying because you're not hearing the problems with the road anymore, and they've repaired it, and it brought you out of the joy that you were in because maybe you're thinking of a game or maybe you were like listening to the music, but you're not hearing the tires struggle against the jarred deviations within the asphalt or concrete that you're driving on. And that's something that I've noticed around here is happening more and more because there's more and more road construction going around San Antonio, which I kind of feel sorry for people that are not from San Antonio because I remember the roads here when they were nice and they were mostly level about 10 years ago, and we didn't have this population. We had half of it, and it's the city. This metro area has exploded, but Peoria is weird because it's just like a consistently changing elevation and direction, and the road's going to curve up to the left now for a 12-degree angle, and it's going to be a 3% grade going up, because we're in the river valley, and that's just one of those real fun things about Peoria. I'm not saying Peoria is the place where you should go take a vacation. Back in the day, I'm sure Peoria was like the best place in Illinois to retreat to. They had enough services and things to do where you could enjoy yourself. There was a ample amount of creeks and ample fishing areas where your father or uncle could go retire out of the city and just enjoy themselves for a day, repair themselves. And the wife had enough shopping opportunities because the nobility of Caterpillar demanded they had good shopping opportunities.
Yeah.
Send wives off to. Heaven forbid they, go to Chicago and spend their money, or heaven, oh, there's an outlet mall in East St. Louis. We're going to go there instead. Nope. Hey,
No,
Dad,
but
fucking how you doing?
but yeah, to get back to it, like honestly, it just comes down to knowing what I just looking at everything around you and figuring out how you could use it. So yeah, and
you go into a little bit of detail. And the details, like, you also advise other people that are reading this. If you see something, you're more than likely anything you've written down or you've stolen from somewhere else, and you encourage other people to steal from your trove as well and convert it to what table game you're playing.
yeah,
If something's good, it's worth stealing. File up the serial numbers and make
yep,
it legally different. And even I have to go in on this little piece here. Tabletop RPG rules cannot be trademarked. They cannot be copywritten. The verbiage surrounding some of those rules can be copywritten, but the basic mechanics of a game cannot be. So
right.
that helps out my position exponentially well, as we just found out within the past few days that our fears, not really fears, our anticipations for the new edition of Dungeons and Dragons is not going to be a game that you buy books for at a game store and you pop up your DM screen there. They are encouraging everything electronic and digital for that new edition for their platform, and it's gonna hurt the hobby a minuscule of a bit. But I see the entirety of the American spirit coming out, and a lot of people that want to be Americans with free market, they're putting out their own version of the game, and
Yeah,
well, no, you can't do that. We've got Dungeons and Dragons. We own that, says Hasbro. And then we can point and be like, you can't trademark the mechanics, dude. The armor class, saving throws, all these things are parlance for the game. They're nomenclature used for over 40 years. We don't care if you take Dungeons and Dragons and convert it to a tablet phone only game. Nobody wants to play a game like that. We really don't. We want to see each other's faces. I want to shake hands with you before and after the game. I want to see your faces get frustrated when I pop a dragon or Tarrasque on the table. And I won't be able to use their version of the game because it doesn't support the type of play I want. But there's everybody else that's got their own version of the game that's going to beg me to spend $30, $40, $50 on their hardcover or on their softcover books to use their game, which is basically the same version of the game that was made before, but now it's got Tom's credit and back, for he wrote it instead of Gary and Dave. It's going to be interesting. What do you think about the new stuff coming out where they said we're going to be focusing more on digital products, and they made it official here about 2 days ago?
Whew. Well, I hope they plan on having nobody pay for it. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it from a different point of view of simply, look, whatever they're going to put out, if they're not going to sell books or sell it, like, how the fuck do they plan on making money off of it? How?
Their recent, I guess you didn't hear, but about a year and a half ago, they brought some lady over from Microsoft.
Oh, I know that part.
Okay.
What I don't know is the newest news. I've been kind of busy, so I haven't really paid attention to a lot of the news lately. So
I don't understand what they're thinking. I don't understand how they think they can make money off this, because this is a social game, and by taking it to where we can play anywhere digitally, nobody will be wanting to play their game, because even if you play this at a Starbucks with baristas and creamery, you're really wanting to play a game where you can see everybody else's faces. You want to see you want to see their face when you drop a monster on the table, and it doesn't really look like that's the case. It looks like it's a Diablo-esque style game where you now can convert like all the buttons on your character for an extra $1.99. You can make them all gold buttons, and you can, for another 99 cents, you can choose the style of ponytail that your female cohort will have. And for an additional $5.99, you can have access to this Cavalier class, which is not in the basic download, but it's certainly available for you to rent. And there is a $40 a month subscription cost for the not basic version of the game. The basic version of the game, it's not free. The basic version of the game will only allow you to play with a dungeon master that's an AI construct with randomized maps and randomized loot quests. It's basically a buggier version of Daggerfall is what we're going to be getting with the Unreal Engine 5 to try to chart it up a bit, but it doesn't look like it's going to be fun because nobody's staring at the screen. It doesn't have an input to where your camera's on, and so your other friends can see your face as like you're like shitting your pants because there's a fucking purple worm that just like ate Tom the magic user. No, I they're wanting to monetize the shit out of this. The lady says this game is very under monetized. I aim on fixing that with this edition. And then here comes Watsy. Oh my God, don't say that. This is not a new edition. This is not a new edition. This is not a new edition. Please, please.
Okay. What I just heard was, so we're going to get Dungeons and Dragons Skyrim edition. I know we were joking about this before we started the stream. But so you're telling me Watsy is going to try to give me a digital version of their game.
Rent.
Right. But now, here's the thing. They forget how utterly resourceful we players and gamers are. Because I have on my phone here every BattleTech character record sheet and data card ever made because it's a play aid. Yes, I could buy the books, but I don't have to anymore. But we've created these systems so that way I can generate an infinite selection so I can use this little guy here on my map sheets or my cardboard cutouts. By God, the amount of people who pay other artists to draw their characters or use AI generation, no one's going to pay, especially now that they've got AI art generators out there that are getting actually, while they are shit and unethical and I hate them to death, if you need something for an instant character creator, just throw an idea in there or go to Hero Forge and make your own. Watsy does not have the money or talent to produce the kind of shit players want or do. And we're going to jailbreak this shit faster. Like this isn't going to be, oh, hey, we need an Ocean's 11 style crew. No, the internet will look at their program for about 2.5 seconds, break it, release all the information that they're going to have locked away behind loot boxes and other weird shit, and then release it into the wilds, and people will continue to play Dungeons and Dragons. We've always done this. This is what we're always going to do. There's nothing they're going to do. Well, it's all going to be run through, like these cool programs. Like Watsy is not Bethesda. Bethesda can't even make a good game. They make a shitty fucking modding platform for us to put 300 mods into to make a good game. Watsy puts out a shitty engine, and then we make a good game out of it. My channel is about how to make a good game out of crap. In short, every game is just the mud. We add the straw to make the bricks that will make something useful out of it. Every game is literally like we have to provide the straw to make the mud useful. Watsy does not do it. No game company does it. Fuck it. As much as I love White Wolf and World of Darkness, their writers are pure shit, and some of their ideas are crap. But you take a game, but you take a great concept and then you fix it. No game works, and if WotC thinks that their game works, they have not been onto Reddit or onto forums or onto anywhere where anyone talks about games. We're often making fun of their rule engines. We're making fun of their bad choices in how their engines function, and everything is terrible. If you tell me that the only way I can play D&D is that I got to play it rules as written, run by a computer, oh fuck no, you're fucking crazy, and everyone will continue to buy the books that they currently have, and they stop making them. WotC is stupid, and well, then again, Hasbro and WotC are not exactly doing too well financially, so who knows? This might be the last edition until it's bought by somebody else who will put out a new, better version of the game. And it's like we're all just like it's like, or we'll go back to it's dying and it will be brought back by someone else. But boy, if they think AI DMs, and right now there's not an AI out there that's worth a shit, because right now if you're like if anyone's like, if WotC is so thinking that AI will be the new GMs, they have not tried to use it. They have not tried to use what an AI can do, which is crap. Nobody likes AI because they usually tend to forget critical information within 20 to 40 interactions. You have to remind them of things they've said, and say I want to play a game that's got a little bit more spice to it, a little bit more ethical gray zones, where we end up using the Geneva Conventions as a checklist, which is about a quarter of the games I run or play, where we play war crime simulators, and most AIs are like, that is not an ethical option. You can't do that. And I'm like, nah, then we're not playing a game. I need a result, and by God, I have my Bomber Harris hat on, and I plan on erasing a few towns. But I think what they're gambling on a nascent technology that's not developed enough yet, and they're hoping that it will pan out. But the problem is that WotC does not have the money or the programmers necessary to be able to make an AI that will support millions of gamers, or at least several thousand campaigns running simultaneously and running through their program. I mean, it sounds like a bad plan, and I don't see it working. And I guarantee you, whatever rules they put out are going to get ravaged, because honestly, any information is like, oh, or you gotta, and I'm gonna guess you gotta pay to be able to put custom items into your game. Well, hells, that would be terrifying. There's no way in fuck I would want to do that, because I have to, because I've
Not
got.
only do you get to pay, you get to pay to put custom items in your tabletop game, which now you're being forced to run on a digital medium. But now
They get access to it.
A custom idea for you and your campaign, you have to give a EULA check. You have to go through the EULA, which means that they can basically tell you any customized campaign materials you offer into your game can be shared to the servers at WotC, so we may impart them in a future supplement, which you will receive no compensation for.
Right. So, like I said, this is a dumb idea, I think, by a company that's currently financially not in a good place.
No,
that's desperate. And honestly, gamers aren't stupid. Hell, there's a few people who, well, prior to Twitter imploding today,
Wait, what about now?
Twitter put some rules out that said, well, they gave out some bullshit explanations saying that if you're a verified check mark, you can scroll through about 6,000, like 6,000 posts a day. If you're an unverified, you only get 600, and if you're a new unverified, you only get 300. But the original excuse from from Grand High Pooba and Musk was because of data scraping. We're trying to restrict it until somebody at Google goes, yeah, Twitter's cloud computing contract with us ran out, and Elon Musk refused to pay for re-up the contract, so we're cutting his access to our cloud computing servers. And Musk was behind schedule on getting his own computers up and running. So Musk, having to make desperation, is currently throttling users' ability to scroll through posts until he can get capacity back up, or he signs a new contract. But don't worry, he lied the fuck to all of us.
I'm just surprised you have Twitter. That you're the one person I would have never thought would have had Twitter.
I will tell you why. Because I follow a lot of artists.
Okay.
A lot of artists.
And Twitter is a better art sharing program than Instagram, in my opinion. And it's better than DeviantArt or Dragon. And, what was Dragon's Foot? Or no, not Dragon's Foot. Yeah. What was the? There was other places for artists to congregate, but yeah, Twitter is right now the best.
It's like if you went through my something around 700 people I follow, it's almost 98% artists. That's all it is, just artists. Because a lot of them jumped ship when Tumblr got rid of their adult content.
That was Tumblr.
When Tumblr decided to go no more adult content. Well, I like
what the fuck, Tumblr.
And because a lot of the artwork that I follow is like sci-fi, military, explosions, people, it's violent content. Because when you're drawing a bunch of people with armored vehicles and a lot of firearms, explosions and death tend to be part of the explosions, death, and blood tend to be some of the content that's being used. And when Tumblr went no more boobies, they also said no more blood and guts. And a lot of
I want a selection on my social media that says I get to have automatically follow anything Michael Bay thinks is cool. It's in my folder. Bam. I want Michael Bay's fucking folder of things that he's liked or he's saved for viewing later. I want that folder because I know he's not a very influential man. He's made some horrible movies, but Michael Bay speaks to my inner 12-year-old. He really does.
Flaney, just message me and I will recommend whatever you're looking for. I'll try to find an artist that fits your needs. But yeah, like I said, when Tumblr did all that, everybody's like, so everyone's like, do you follow anyone like political? No, I don't. It's like I follow I think the closest thing to political I have is like following like two guys who comment about comics. That's about it. Beyond that, it's just a progressively ever growing list of weird ass artists who just go, hey, look at this cool thing I like. I like that artist. I'm gonna follow that guy too. And then slowly but surely, it's like, yeah, but all because some Puritans, some danger hair Puritans went no more boobies, and now and thus all the fun left. And every once in a while, it's like you just find, and now that Twitter's dying, all the artists are going, where the fuck do we go now? Where the fuck do we get to show boobies and violence still? And I'm like going, well, I don't know, but when you guys find out, I'll follow because yeah, that's the one thing I really hate about this whole puritanical fucking bullshit movement now, where everything's like, no, we gotta make sure everything's moral and nice and fucking. I'm like going, fuck. Because if you, DeviantArt won't show shit. We can't fucking post anything anywhere. And anytime anyone gets a good idea what's going on here, I don't know who I hate more: the blue hair, the blue hair, danger hair motherfuckers, or the Bible thumping, no boobs allowed, puritanical cocksuckers. And at least the deviancy of the blue haired motherfuckers, and at least I can at least go, you wear it on your sleeves. All you puritanical fucks, because I have not met a single Bible thumping puritanical fuck who isn't somehow a closet deviant. At least you guys hide your shit from sight, and trust me, I know what some of you white picket fence bastards look at when nobody's watching anymore. When you think nobody's looking, the shit you say, the porn you look for, I know you're looking at it. I know it's like, no, I'm a good, upstanding. No, you're not. I don't believe anybody who says that. And anybody who's in any kind of hobby, that's any kind of nerd hobby like we fucking do, and they go, no, I don't like any of that shit. I'm like, go fuck yourself. You're lying, and I know you're lying.
I would recommend Reddit. Reddit, as much as I hate Reddit for its like just absolute TDS, like there's a lot of TDS at Reddit.
There is.
I really do like the community of just complete assholes over there, and I mean the meme communities over at Reddit are fucking amazing.
Yeah, and there's some good Reddits out there, but the thing is that often what happens is that you get a really cool subreddit, and it's really good for a little while, and then then you get asshole mods, which is the same problem you find almost anywhere else, where the mods think they get power, and then they run shit, and they run their own little personal empire that caters to their fetishes, to their interest. And if you deviate away from the interest of the people who are in power, they'll fucking shut you down. And there's no point into it. I don't like 3/4 of the things that are out there in the world, but I don't fucking give a shit, except for certain things that deserve wood chippers. Most things I'm just gonna go, whatever.
I really like Pinochet's helicopter tours.
Fucking love. If I could have that as a goddamn like side, and Pinochet helicopter tours. By the hour, we'll do this. We got trips leaving. I leaving every hour. Just sign up. But I would.
And that's one guy in our Discord, Parrot Head. If you are looking for dank memes and and I mean really like award-winning quality, like good full frontal nudes of the softer variety of the 80s. Make it your objective today.
Go look at that channel.
Friend of yours now, because Parrot Head, he's in the know. He hangs out with the right people. He's a very generous individual. He loves to share good memes, and I would say that but with the overlords of Discord looming over us and the overlords of YouTube, you're like, we gotta watch this Parrot Head guy. Well, you know what? Parrot Head's got good shit, so maybe you guys should take a fucking notice of what he's sharing and see what the temperature is, because he actually puts out quality content.
Yep.
That's just my own personal experience. For the past 4 years, I've known this guy, and he's the guy. One other thing, we were going through our Discord chat we had here, Kai's Rants, as I call it.
Oh, we've derailed. We've derailed like certain chemical companies, but yeah.
Make whatever it is that you're doing yours, though. And
Yeah.
you're going to piss off purists, but what the fuck ever.
Right.
These people are not going to invite you to tables anyway, and that's why you shouldn't care what some angry guy who won't talk to you complains about on a YouTube channel about games you're never in. Seriously, curate for your own table, and if you find yourself to where you've got a waiting list of players, you're doing good.
Yeah.
Chymerion's sub-channel here, he shares his take on things. You can take them, you can leave them. If you enjoy it, leave a good faith comment. For the ignorant out there, if they do leave a comment, he's doing his best to be not dismissive and explains positions if they're in need of clarification or expanding, takes alternatives into consideration. And ultimately, it's a conversation, even if it's basically yelling at Kai and you're screaming off the side of this digital cliff in the digital abyss, you know. And the next time you got on here was what, October 22. I can't be the only one who looks at rules for a weapon in one book and then in another. Curse you, GDW, for infecting my nascent developing early teen brain with Twilight 2000 and the infantry weapons manual that told me there are so many more guns out there to choose from, and you start to make connections. This is actually part of the Armalite series that we're here, and another set with the same, and now we have multiple data points, real source books, and now these data points have something to compare to. My favorite was Greg Porter's book of conversions. He had an entire book to convert fucking Twilight 2000 weapons into damn near every other system at the time in 1996. He's also the designer of Macho Women with Guns, a game that could never be ran today at a convention. Otherwise, you'll have a shrieking parade of obesity and blue hairs behind your table screaming at you that you need to be canceled and someone needs to set fire to your DM screen like it's Kenosha. It's
now,
just...
To little 13-year-old me, this was the worst book in the world. The one I was just talking about in that channel. Little 13-year-old me bought this book, and I have never been the same again. These two books, actually, the Halo Spy handbook too. But yeah, once you have this book, suddenly you're like, oh shit! Every role-playing game has got nothing. I'm like, but I want Dirty Harry's pistol. I want something fucking bizarre from page. I don't know. Just open a random page. Like, I didn't even know half this shit existed when I was like, I like guns as a little kid. Now I know about way too many of them. Now, well, it's like stupid shit like that. Then you start buying other manuals. And then slowly but surely you get even more stupid as you get older and buy more books that are way too complicated, way too much for your own damn good. Oh, there it is. Or when it's like, hey kiddos, my game only has I only have artillery in my game, but I've only given you one book. And then you have idiots like me who buy, manuals or just artillery, so we can have more guns, more big guns, bigger weaponry all over the place. Because God supports those with the biggest guns and the most of them. And I plan on doing God's will by having more guns than the other guy does. That's what it comes down to.
I was just replying to a person on our Discord.
Okay.
You're putting things together with conversion books, and you're looking at how everything connects to other things. And at what point did you start looking at the various weapons from, like, say, Palladium's Recon or Twilight 2000, and you start having the wish list open up in your head when you open up a book like, say, Rips, Triax, and NGR, or that would have been almost an immediate point in time when that started happening, because even as a little kid, even as a teenager, I was still looking at one of the. I was like,
wanting more. The core, like playing a game and going, this is just the heavy blaster pistol. Going, but no, the Imperial Arms heavy blaster pistol has a +1 modifier and has a higher code. Or playing Shadowrun, early days, or playing whatever game. Like there's always that point of knowing more is out there and wanting more, but then having the GM looking at me like, nah, you don't need or want that, or that's not available. Then I'm like, well, why is it not available? Because my problem is that I've always been that person who goes, there's more to, there's a catalog. There's literally a catalog. I understand that not every part is available, but I want to know that I want all the parts to be able to. I want to be able to walk into a store and go, I need a parts catalog. Give me all the options on what I can spend money on, and then have the crap dropped on me, like because I've seen the, like, now working at a car parts store, I've seen the insanity of just the number of options on how you can fix a car, upgrade a car. Just keep, like, we got mid-range, low, high-end, stupid high-end. Fucking, how much money do you want to spend options? And have all of this shit. I understand now that I'm not, like, my mentality is not alone. Car guys and gun guys fucking understand this shit. They know this shit. Like here I am, like, I understand a gun. Then I like have my friend who's a way bigger gun nut than me start going into crazy amounts of detail, and I just kind of look at him like, you know far too much. And then rather than being intimidated and going, I don't want to associate with you because you know too much about this gun thing, now I'm like, I must now figure out all things about guns so I can talk to you in the future. And now I understand things. I'm tired of being yelled at by mechanics. So I'm starting to learn how to, about cars, so that way I can understand what they're yelling at me about. Because I don't want to be intimidated by not knowing anything. And so it's that challenge of going, I don't want to be considered stupid. I'm going to now learn more than God himself does. So I may not be a professional, but I will not be an idiot. I said, I may not know everything, but by God, I'm going to learn enough terms so that way when a professional does start talking, I don't just start drooling. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I think about it a couple times, but yeah. After that deep thought, I'm going to share something that Parrot had sent me. 4th of July is absolutely my favorite holiday. This is why, for any endeavor involving more than a match and a cigarette, for everything you do involving fire, you need a safety petty officer on site. Okay? No matter what you're doing.
Lies.
Oh my God. That's terrible. So you have these wheels that are turning in your head, and points, they line up. They're just outliers, detected, thrown out. They're based on poorly understood concepts or bias. Just because you've had to use iron sights on an AK-47 a couple times at the range, and you feel kind of snobbish whenever you see some guy that wasted $2,000 on scope, optics, and brace, and you're there with like a blown out shoulder, damn near, it's tenderized with black and blue marks on it, and you're still able to hear the distant ping, ping, whenever you hit the iron, whenever you get your hearing back, you can hear that, and it makes you smile. But there's some guy that spent like $5,000 on an Armalite. I love Armalite, don't get me wrong. They mostly are reliable, but you can't set it in a pickle barrel for years and expect it to fire when you yank it out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I I appreciate the Kalashnikov a lot. I really do. All these things, they line up, and you start thinking about it. It's a wonderful thing, and the light in your head that pushes the edges of what's possible for you as you start expanding your own envelope. More information will filter down into your brain pan. And a reason that you do this is mostly arises from the fact that you own too much crap that you know you'll never find a table group for. You want to use it, but and you want to use it. You want to actually put it into play. There's 4 pages in this old GDW house rag that has a great set of modifiers and cover variants that would work out so much better if you were in Saigon versus in the deep jungle. You want to use that one of these days, but instead here you are, deep jungle, and none of your players want to let you run the super secret mission that you want to run.
Yeah.
You have it in your head where like things. There are times where you're thinking about a system or a subsystem, and it could pair up so much better with this set of integers and modifiers and variables. And next thing you know, you're piecing together the Hackmaster 5 initiative system, and you're putting it into a 3.x game, and you're running it for your friends, and they're having a ball with it. Because, like, Max was having a hard time with me last night when I quoted exactly how my steps for initiative are. You roll initiative die. Once you get your initiative met, once you count up to that number, then you declare what you're doing. That has a time value to it. And once we get to that point, we roll, see how you're successful or not, or if it's just movement, you just move there. Then you declare again what you're doing next, because it's always a count up system. It's not round by round by round bullshit. And he starts screaming at me damn near because that's the same thing we do with Earth Dawn. Drink. And I'm like, dude, that's a better system than what I feel round by round stuff is from basic D&D, and has permeated the system ever since. And even when 3X came out with roll initiative one time and that's it, I still like the count up system better because it will take you less time to cast Magic Missile than it will Meteor Storm. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
And you start putting these things together, and these things can be made to work. So it takes a free standalone book, or sometimes you get a magazine. Somebody went a little bit too far on BattleTech, TRO 1945, which contains in it the rules for both historic weapon ranges and their equivalent for tabletop. And that means you can start to extrapolate numbers out to suddenly be playing BattleTech, not on a 30-meter hex scale, but on a proper micro-armor scales with multiple kilometer engagement ranges. Now think about this. You're using a battle mech, and you don't really, like, your targeting computer gets fucked up. So now, like, you were bitching at the table before because you got a -3 to hit on something. But just imagine you're in a 30-foot or a 30-meter tall mech, and you're trying to use your iron sights, but you're off in the center of the mech, and your arm is over to your left, and you're trying to use iron sights with this weapon, and you're hoping that you're good. You don't have the Yontos. The M50 Yontos is one of my favorite military weapons.
Yes.
Because it had a 50 caliber sighting gun that would pair up with the barrel underneath it that would launch an RPG, and you trigger the 50 cal, and you would light up whatever you thought you were aiming at. When you started hitting what you wanted to hit, then you trigger the RPG round to go off, and once all 6 RPG rounds are fired up, it's a 6-barrel RPG launcher. It was a beautiful thing. The Marine Corps loved it. But like once you fired off all 6 rounds, you had to send somebody outside to go out and reload it. And the Army was all butthurt, like you have to send somebody out there to get shot at. And the Marines were like, well, fuck off. We've been getting shot at since 1775, and now it'll be a lot more fun to get shot at when we have 6 fucking RPGs to launch at them. And it's wonderful. So, I mean, it's just, you once you understand why there's a fucking -3 to hit because your targeting computer gets knocked the fuck out, and you're trying to, anticipate this other mech's movements where you're pulling the activate button on the weapon grid. Please hit that son of a bitch. I don't want to have to take 2 shots at this Jenner. I'm going to get killed here.
Oh,
now
and
I can understand. Go ahead.
And the thing was I back when I fucked around on the forums I had nothing forums. There used to be this great little thought experiment alternate history stuff that we were playing around with. Take care of Fairhead. But we all there was this wonderful theory crafting of trying to reimagine the setting in 1985. No magic, no magical space weapons, still with giant robots, and yeah, it started out as a joke, but towards the end, we started like writing out like entire stories about how what it would be like to see we were doing writing out equivalencies like, well, what would be this, and then figuring out it's like, okay, so we don't have a PPC, but wouldn't you say that it would be equivalency to this? And then people were like, okay, and it turned into people were starting to like write up an entire history about how the Cold War moved into a parallel development towards giant robots in the 1950s, and slowly saw the evolution of various weapons platforms. And then people were like, well, what would be the equivalent? And people started so it was this fun way of saying it's like, and I think I wrote this wonderful little short story about this about a 1985 version of an awesome. Well, actually, at that point, it was 1981, but it was like it's a giant 80-ton mech with and it had three auto-loading 120s on it, and it was just this big it was this cool moment of people like well, what? And I'm like yeah, but what's the one problem we all have with BattleTech units? And like, well, what's that? Our ammo supply is ridiculously short. Fights are we've never got the game has always been ammo. You fire 10, 5, 6 rounds, 5, 6, 10 rounds, and you're done. And you have to go back to backups. And I'm like, can you imagine the doctrine and the story of? Can you imagine? It's like, here's this giant robot, powerful as hell, armored death machine, walking there with 3 times the firepower of your one tank, of your one Abrams, and it's sitting here on at a pass, firing these grand shots downrange, just obliterating enemies as it's trying to buy time. Meanwhile, here's this tank platoon sitting here going, okay, so supposedly we're here to support it, but actually what ends up happening is that it runs out of ammo more often than it should, and then suddenly these desperate tankers are like fuck, we haven't had time to reload ourselves, and charging back in to go buy time for this titan of industry, this weapon of death, to fall back and reload so it can buy time, so it can get back in there in the line and shoot some more. But it fires 10 shots and it's done, and then it's running away again, and everyone's bitching about it. Someone went, I never thought about it like that, and I'm like, yeah. And how long are combat rounds? About 10 seconds. Okay, so 1 minute. It goes into combat for 1 minute and it's out of ammo. Oh, that sounds horrible. And I'm like going, yes. And now that exhausted, tired tank platoon has to go right back onto that ridge and fight desperately to buy time for that awesome to go back and load back up so we can fight for 1 more minute. And they're like, this is a horrible weapon. And I'm like going, yes, but the U.S. Army bought it. And they're like, fuck. And it's funny watching people go, yeah, that's fucking it. We all bought it during peacetime, but now it's war, and now we're having to sit here and buy time for this giant machine that we now have to survive. And after that, the stories became less fanciful and more. Let's go write this story as though it's. We're not talking about the war itself or the actual fighting that was happening. Let's go talk about it as some tired old guy who's 30 years later who's telling you about let me tell you about what happened here. And suddenly all of our stories stop being so fanciful about knights and heroic combat to no, it's a horrible, miserable experience, and all because I decided to write a short story about an Abrams platoon trying to buy time for an awesome to reload. and they're all like, oh fuck, okay, this story's a whole lot more interesting and more and like if you start looking at it from from not some God's eye view up here, but as the assholes on the ground, those poor bastards on the ground, the story gets a whole lot more interesting and more. It feels more visceral. Like it actually can like it's what you think it should have been like or what it could be like. But yeah, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, now imagine you trying to explain, and this is why people are like I like the Hunchback, for a minute and a half, I'm a god. What do you do after a minute and a half? Oh, what do I do after a minute and a half? Run in there and melee, or do you run away and reload? Oh, oh, and these are the kind of thoughts that when you start to look at it from a more interesting point of view, it's like, why would I ever need to load 64 rounds into my mech? I don't know, because you don't want to, because you actually want to fight for more than 5 minutes. Oh, I understand now. I like, yeah, you do now, don't you? And it's like, but it's like I didn't understand this until somebody yelled at me, and now I understand. So, but it's like, but because of the fact that when you start to think about shit in different points of view, and start realizing that you're not playing a Bollywood movie where you have where you only have 4 arrows in your quiver, but you fire 400 shots. That's a fantastic movie. Or the classic, or the classic, 70s, 80s American Hollywood action movie where I got a six shot revolver, but I fired off 42 rounds. I never reloaded, nor do I have a speed loader, but that's okay. And it's like adding these little tidbits are fun to add some depth to your game. That's all. Yeah.
It has 1/1000th of the ammo and no loiter time.
Your time. That's okay. It's okay. It's a perfect plan. It's grand. It's great. It's great. No, it's not. Fuck. It's not as bad as you think, but it's not as good as you want it to be. I can. Oh dear God, the amount of lecture time you can have on just that topic. No thanks. I'll pass on this one. I know I'm rambling through a lot of ideas because let's just be honest. There's so many different directions you could go with this. I'm through fantasy or fantasy, modern, or sci-fi. Dear God, there's so much information to pull from, and so many different ways to do things.
It looks like that thing that is in charge of the health program in the United States. She's wearing a military uniform, and its pronouns are she, her. Which
I know.
Miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad I don't live in Michigan, and I'm so glad you don't either.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dear God.
Me young on Swiss cheesing the wildlife, whereas if they, it's my 5 or 6 years ago, I want to taught these kids how to hunt properly. Yeah. Hey, Mages Musings, how you doing, sir? The point of the stream is to exchange ideas. The other thing, Kai, is that you have this free standalone books, which are they talk about various ways you can convert BattleTech to maybe advanced squad leader or Memoir 44 style rules and such, and you start finding ways you can do that. You have similarities between Cyberpunk, Shadowrun, Pathfinder, Iron Gods, tech manual, cybernetics, biomods, and fill in the gaps that the writers missed, and suddenly force players to deal with cyber psychosis because the augmentations are fun.
Yeah.
Never ever use it, but it's a specialty tool in a car workshop. You better have it. It's better to have it and never need to use it than to need it and not have it at hand.
That's right.
And then you contemplate the implications of basic statistics. The stats, strength, dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and a charisma. You have those averaging between 9 to 12. That's our average.
Yep.
And if you think of the storyteller dot-based games like early L5R, Legend of Five Rings, and stats, 5 is usually the top without being super amazing. You get to 5 strength and White Wolf, I believe it was, you could bench press 400 pounds, and I never was in that good of shape. I could bench 250 at one point.
Yeah.
And that's sad. I can't bench my own weight nowadays, but I don't bench press. I do push-ups, and I don't do them nearly enough. But you could do that. Thinking of that, you have a special ability or perk that will boost it. So we do a little math. 1 dot, so you're 3 to 7. Pathetic. 2 dots, 8 to 11 average. 12 to 15 is your 3 dot. 8 to 11 is average. 12 to 15 is your 3 dot. 16 to 19 on the average scores is 4 dots. And 20 to 24 on the 6 stats is typically would be 5 dots, the usual max for a character start. And it's not perfect. It's a good framework that gives you tools to start thinking about what monsters and encounters written in other books could have when you gen up the stats for an interesting encounter. And that quick and dirty is basically just something that you can take into your One World by Night games or your Mage or Werewolf Apocalypse. And if you're trying to figure out how to convert that to your D&D game, if you want to have like an NPC make an appearance in your cousin's D&D game, you could literally, that quick and dirty that Ty just did, that would work absolutely well.
Yeah, it'll get you a playable thing. And the thing is that most games, by leveling through just straight, I've min-maxed my character, 18 through leveling and bonuses. 22, 24 is where you top. 20 to 24 is where you top out, and that's 5 dots. And it's like you could go higher. Anybody who's played a White Wolf game will tell, a storyteller-based engine game will tell you, yeah, you can go higher, but those are the exception. Those are the exception characters. You will not see a normal person reach that stage. But through magic, through bloodlines, through other things, you could break the maximum limit, which in most games is sadly 20 to 24. 20 is 5 dots. I can live with that. I can see it. Yeah, you just need more to be able to go back. Go past that. That's just the organic maximums in my book, and it's like I guarantee you, I can have a fight with somebody over, if somebody who's another White Wolf character player would go, I don't think that's why. I'm like, it's good enough, and this was a good enough thing to allow me to grab Exalted and port over powers, port over abilities, port over NPCs. Having that ability to just go, you know what? I want to get, you people got heroism, but I don't want to give you a level. Here's what a lot of my players started to refer to as sparkle points, essence powers, and it allowed me to grab powers. Oh, you're fighting a vampire? Well, I want my vampire to be a little bit more cooler than a D&D vampire. I'm going to go steal some Vampire the Masquerade. And I'm not going to, and God help me, I'm never going to use the Monty Cook White Wolf game book. That thing's a pile of shit. I'm sorry, I read it. It's interesting. I'm not going to touch it. No. Yes, I have written. Yes, I have read. I read it. It's all in essence. Boy, is it a lot of fun. And I think in time I would like to get around to enjoying it. But that will mean finding a group of players who are going to be able to be willing to play Essence. It's hard enough to find people to play Exalted. God help me around here. Or if they are playing it, their groups are full, and I don't have time to be there on their day.
Hey, Mobius. I do mind. I do like this miniature holder. I use this quite a bit for whenever I'm doing these things up. The reason why is I like it is that it actually will hold a large or even a huge size figure. Omana, how you doing, sir? There's a few people that are they're going to be whenever you start talking about things like this. Like I did a conversion for my AD&D character into a White Wolf game, and there's a few people who'll be like, "Do not mix settings," or "Don't be mixing games. They're not supposed to mix." And there are elements where you're like, "But I think I have an idea." Most writers tend to not put a lot of thought into something outside their tiny area of focus. You expand on it a little bit. You write an RPG that's very focused on Western medieval fantasy. I'm not going to put a lot of thought into making it be able to handle an adventure on the high seas, the conflicts of Rome, adventures across the plains with a Mongol or Parthian cavalry formation, or adventures during the Three Kingdoms era or a Sengoku Jedi. Okay, not going to worry about that. You don't have those writers develop an interesting culture for orcs or trolls or vampires and lycanthropes. They're not going to go too in depth into realms of the afterlife, realms of the gods above or below, and spaces between. But we as GMs are the ones who get to fill in all of that. But there's so very much to cover in all this insanity. And it's the homebrew that a lot of us will give the self pat on the back. We're very proud of ourselves for it. Other people have already done the legwork for us. So you don't have to pick up things like 100% of it, but the inspiration, read about it. The inspiration helps. And why not look at their material and start working at it? And this is why Khymerion likes the fact that I try to find these points of comparison and find an interesting solution. And to figure out what a Battletech equivalent is to a backfire strike would look like, you stat out heavy gears as protomechs or contemplate interesting details. Furthermore, you often will hear, well, there's no such thing as a new story. Well, once you know the basics, you're in position to do modifications to make that new story. Because a lot of people are like Tolkien's Tolkien's take on elves. They don't realize they're channeling ElfQuest when they do Wild and Wood Elves. Warhammer Fantasy High Elves are pretty much the elves of the First Age in War of Wrath. And so, really knowing how to convert from one rule set or setting to another is a very useful skill for these table games.
Yep.
I'm still in awe of the fact that you just described like how to basically take your 5 dots of White Wolf and pound it into the basic 6 stats for the game, which we all know and remember as 12-year-old boy. I think that's fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah. There's a few problems you gotta work around with, like wits perception and intellect is kind of hard. Like, how do I get charisma and appearance to go? It's a little fiddly, but you can make it work. It's not super hard. But yeah, it really is just simply once you there's like once you know where they were inspired by, you can go take it in your own directions. And yeah, it took me realizing that when I started reading through Forgotten Realms and seeing how their wood elves and wild elves were all drawn and written, and then digging back through my mom's comic book collection and finding all of her 1970s era, 70s and 80s era ElfQuest books, comics, and then reading through those and going, shit, they did. TSR didn't do any effort. This is just fucking. It's right here. It's literally right here. It's like how they dress, how they look, the weird deformations on how their facial features all look, how they act. This is literally ElfQuest. This is a comic book, and you're like, it's for no, you guys just didn't realize where it was stolen from, and I didn't realize where it was stolen from, but since I read all my mom's old comics, I read those comics. I'm like, oh fuck, here it is, and you're like, I'm going to go I play a high elf, and I'm like going, oh, so you too enjoy the Silmarillion. Yeah. You're wanting to play an elf of the War of Wrath. Congratulations. And suddenly it's like, my elves are, boy, if you're thinking about your ethereal weirdo elves are all sitting here humping trees, you're obviously thinking I lost Lorien under Galadriel in the Third Age. But I'm thinking elves in the First Age here. Oh, it's a whole lot different experience. And suddenly when you're now not playing, oh, we're the elves of Mirkwood. We're all just this. It's like, well, I welcome to Elrond's little hideaway. We're all gonna sing shit. Meanwhile, I'm going, can we get back to the point where we have, you guys stole some rocks from us. We're gonna burn a goddamn continent. This is gonna last for generations, and it won't end until we sink half the world. And then you're like, so which version of elf are we playing today? And we're gonna go play us some. Our elves, my elves are just sing music and don't do shit. And I'm like, my elves are literally sitting here dealing with 3,000 years of shell shock over the fact that, the last time we got pissed, we sank half the world. Oh, yeah. So I guess when I run my elves, I run mine more. We're scarier than you. We're just all shell shocked because 6,000 years ago we killed everybody. Get used to it.
They were commenting on the mini holder. This thing is, if you have one that's not made by Citadel, go ahead and use it. These are a fantastic thing to have because they allow you to rotate your item to get to where you can get all the crevasses. I'm getting ready to do another coat of this burnished copper on here. Once I do that, then I'll start working on the smaller details. I'm not certain where I'm going to paint color that part yet, but I really do like these miniature holders, and I don't really have to touch the paint too much, which is the takeaway. Like, you don't want to touch paint too much before you varnish things, because you're going to rub it off with your fingers. You will. You have oils, you have friction, you have heat, and that will just take that acrylic paint right the hell off. Also, there was a statement about somebody said Monty Cook is overrated. I believe that. He did do a couple of products I really like.
They're great.
The first edition Dungeon Master's Guide, or the third edition Dungeon Master's Guide from 2000 Wizards of the Coast, was really much in part because he did Ptolus. Before Ptolus was released, this is a Chaosium version. It's a fantasy city. It's very well researched and looked at, and it's cross-referenced all the way through. So if there's like an NPC detailed on page 16 and he's also repeated on page 38, on page 38 you have the notification to go to page 16 and read up more on him if there's some things missing in that little stat block. It's a universal supplement. It does really good for giving you a fantasy city. I'm going to put the link here into the chat should you want to check this out. There's a lot of this on the web, and Makima Press does actually have a digital version of this now available. But this was the closest thing I had to Ptolus from 1990. Oh, when was that? I read it in 1993, and ever since then, that's been the closest that I've ever seen to what Ptolus did with the detail. Omanal says TSR D&D was simply playing existing literature into a wargame setting. There's nothing wrong with that, and I think that's wonderful because that gave us a narrative to put all of our games with a rule set we could all easily learn and translate the narratives and then have resolutions with simple click-clack math rocks, and we could figure out exactly what would happen if you tried to, stop the orcs at the gates from getting into town. His Numenera stuff is good. He does have expensive prices. I'm not a fan of Numenera myself, but I know a lot of people that are, and I've looked at the system. It's okay if you want that. That's all right. The PDFs are in good shape. If you can find a 3.5 version of Tolus for less than $200, it's worth the price.
It is.
There's an accompanying DVD that's on, or DVD-ROM that comes with it, and it has all the extra stuff, the 2 campaign notes he's got for the 2 campaigns he did before he wrote the DMG. It's got the Night of Disillusion and the Bane Warren's Adventure, which that should take you from 5th level to 12th level. I could talk forever on Tolus, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And back to you've got some good musings here. You've been thinking about things like making damage obvious to everybody, not making damage obvious.
Yeah.
And to pass out damage to players on note cards that tell them the amount of damage taken. If they're bleeding, like gut shots really, really suck. And if you're wearing armor, it might not be obvious to everybody how bad the bleeding really is.
Play carriers hiding how bad the entry and exit wounds really are. Just like the way, like a leg was suddenly new. No, man, damn round splintering, sending shards to graze the spine. See, I know the game portion. It's great for that MMO, video game RPG health bar that allows the God's eye view of the entire party, and that's why the healer in the party is able to do their job as fast as possible. But it's also total fucking bullshit. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you talk about how much you hate video game logic, but nobody has a problem knowing what the current bleed rate and HP state of the party is. And as a former raid healer who used to use as many UI mods to be able to know what my entire raid is, have all my spells up, and track all 40 people in real time, it was the point where I was a NASA flight director. And I was playing the games from a postage stamp. Depending on calls from my raid and squad leaders to help me direct where I am to move while I do my job. So I know what this shit looks like. And I guarantee you, any player who's playing this game or playing a tabletop RPG as fuck does not have that HUD display. So I'm sorry, no real-time status integration if I had my way. And trust me, most GMs really seem to hate handing out the kind of items that allow for tight real-time coordination and giving real-time status updates. So let's extrapolate on that. Of course, players are going to yell out that they've been hit. Oh, that's cool. You do realize you only have 6 to 10 seconds per round, right? So are you telling me your current out status is what you're going to be saying? And you're also going to give instant coordination on a loud battleground? So how far does your voice carry? Have you tried having a good conversation that has nuance and depth with someone at 30 feet, at 60 feet? Or are you just yelling at that point? But what about there's something loud going on, like, say, music, a lathe, or a loud machine running, or a gun, or a fight? Oh, dear God, how do you hear? But somehow we're all able to call down pinpoint fire support directions in a fight from the archer or gunner standing at 120 or more feet behind us, and simultaneously allow people fighting along a 50-foot long front to have an in-depth conversation and all of it nuanced. And all while the bad guys are all supposed to be going, herder, don't hear shit. So yeah, I really do wish to make players have to think for themselves. If they haven't worked out ahead of time some kind of battle signs or communications to help condense information with their fellow players, they don't get to have a long-running conversation and strategy session right in front of the bad guys. And so this is with my current damage status is, no, sorry, hell no, suffer, damn it. Sorry.
And that's something that's coming up a bit in my campaign lately on Saturdays, because I have Travis and Janet both, which are running probably 2 of the best clerics I've ever had in a game.
Yeah.
Janet is brand new, and I will always sing her praises because she just took the game and she took the most complicated game rule set, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to join." And so we let her in, and she's having fun with it. She doesn't know the game back and forth. She doesn't even know the dice back and forth, but she's having
Need
fun.
to.
She
She's
wants to
doing
play.
her job well.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I'm
then,
watching and going
go ahead.
as a player and somebody who's a dedicated healer in almost every game I play. I totally am good with what she does.
And I mean, then I have Travis, who Travis has got his character not hard coded, but whenever he runs as dwarf, the moment that the front line starts to take a significant amount of damage, he'll try to summon a monster to kind of be a wall for him, so then he can get his dwarf into position where he can have an overlapping channel positive energy to reinforce the other guys' hit points. But the moment Travis starts taking damage, he starts like figuring out how many rounds of continued support can I take before I need to leave. And he doesn't have any like party loyalty in that he'll try to come back and resurrect people, but like if he's taken too much grief, he's out. See it. And he's I like his character. I mean, as a GM, I really like his character a lot, and I'm not saying that because, but no, I'm not going to say that because there's no but to it. I love the
Yeah,
fact like he's playing his character. He's not into being a cleric so he can heal himself up. He's into being a cleric because it allows him the ability to buy more alcohol.
and that works. That's honestly a good way of doing it. And it's like, and the thing here is that it's like I had a recent story, like, well, not recent now, but it's been a bit since it happened. But because I do fully, I follow my own, I'm not a hypocrite. I'll follow what I say. And it was like we were in a big fight, and the GM literally I blew up my character, and well, I wasn't dead, but my character was trapped underneath a burning cart. But I was a ranged combat character, so I was so when the cart exploded, thanks to all the items the party had on board it, and I was trying to use it for cover. So when it went up, and I ended up underneath of it, burning to death. The party is like, well, why didn't you scream out? And I'm like, but you're playing. Why didn't you scream out for help? And I'm like, I did. Did all of you forget the fact that that I as a player asked you guys all to make listen checks? And they're like, yeah, we remember, but I'm like, you guys are all approximately 110, over 100 feet away from me. There's a loud explosion, and you were in the middle of a fight versus a whole lot of bad guys. None of you heard the scream or the cries for help because you were far away. But we would have. I'm like, no, you wouldn't have. You didn't look back. You didn't. You just said the cart exploded. I knew my character was now trapped under it and burning to death. I sent notes to the GM going, look, I know they're busy, but if nobody comes back here, I'm going to lose my character. And he's like, are you okay with that? I'm like going, oh hell, now as an eternal GM getting to have a character die, fuck yes, I'm up for this shit. But they're like, oh fuck, wait, our archer died in a horrible explosion trapped under a burning thing. Yeah, he burned to death. But none of you heard. None of you came. None of you looked. But we would have no. I know how far a voice could go, or how far a scream can go, and how loud a roaring fire is. No, you didn't hear it. you died. I was like, this character died. I'm sorry. Like, but that was your character. I go, yeah, I can make a new one. I'm sad he's dead. They're like, no, we'll pay to bring him back. And I'm like, there you go. There's the party spirit I wanted to hear. And that became a teaching experience of, hey, you guys need to actually know where all of your friends are. You can't just assume that they're all going to tell you, hey, I'm currently at 15 hit points out of 85. I need heals now. Or no, you need to be able to find a way to communicate effectively through noise. This is why I always work so hard as to find magical items that are meant to provide communication, or magical abilities that will provide communication. It's like people are like, why did you and two other players take telepathy as your feat? Because that's fucking internal radios, guys. That's fucking being able to communicate quietly at a 60-foot radius over noise. Yeah. Why wouldn't you take that? It doesn't have a combat utility. No, it has It has utility, though. Dear God. And then suddenly, it's like we're buying items that, like, because this old item called Ring of the Pack that allows everyone who's wearing a copy of the ring to have to know how everyone else is doing and be able to communicate. It's expensive, and everyone's got to buy into it, but that's a communications net that you have bought for your party to be able to coordinate, like you guys are actually talking on tabletop without, because at one point when I was jamming, everyone was sitting here giving intricate battle communications on where everybody should maneuver and all this other stuff. Assuming that it's like that, and then I just had the enemy you're fighting has an intelligence of 17, and he's not, and he can hear you. He's going to literally just move to counteract everything your entire battle plan. Like, what do you mean? Well, you just, before your turn, you called for the mage to be able to cast a fireball. You called for the cleric. The bad guy is intercepting the cleric before he casts a spell, and he's going to go cast a spell against the fireball against that wizard. How does he know? You guys are literally talking right in front of him. I mean, dear fucking God, guys. And people wonder why I don't, like, when I'm playing, I don't want to discuss what I'm doing. I'm just going to act. I'm going to follow what they're doing, but I'm going to act, because unless I've worked it out ahead of time with my fellow players, and there's like 3 players who, well, now just down to one player who will work out shit before game, in between sessions, to figure out, hey, if I do this, can you support or do this? If I make a hand motion, it's going to mean this. And we're working out how the team is going, how the two of us are going to fight, to the point where when it comes to tabletop, the two of us don't have to talk to each other anymore. We don't need to plan at the table anymore. We just know, okay, he's going to charge in, he needs support. I'm going to do this. This is what's going to happen. We've already figured out how, so our turns go by really fast, and because we're a duo, a pair who's going to do really, really well. So, and message is great, but message takes an action to cast. And you really don't want to, like, your action economy is not I'm going to blow a spell slot or blow an action so I can go tell somebody else something when talking is a free action, but you get a short time. It's a possibility. I like it. It's an option, but not everyone has access to message, which is a shame. Everyone should. Fuck, it's a great spell, but it's one of those. All of this comes down to players act upon too much information, but I understand it's part of the game, and without it, you would have situations where much like how in the conversation I was, in the post I was reading about how, a shot someone getting hit and not realizing how bad it is because the plate carrier blocked it, blocked knowledge of it until you take it off. Well, how does the healer who was 40 feet away suddenly see the fighter get, hit really hard, goes down, to one knee, coughing, but the whole armor is hiding most of the damage. Well, how do you know how bad that person was hit? Is he bleeding? Is he dying? Is he just incapacitated? Is there problems with it? There's a whole lot more that goes into this. That, yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to have to think about. And I really appreciate the cleric players who actually go in there and actually patch somebody up. I know there's a lot of players who have a mindset where the current meta of the game is no, healing is for after combat. Healing is for in between combat. The entire point is to do as much damage as humanly possible and knock the enemy down so that way you can prevent them from doing more damage. It's the idea of, if I kill you fast enough, I mitigate all the incoming damage for every round that enemy is still alive. But that turn and cleric is a fantastic platform for murdering things really well. It's a great class for if you want to be a combat machine. Boy, is it good, to the point where it outshines a lot of other classes because of their spells and their other bonuses. It's just a powerhouse class. It's the whole reason why in 3.x we had the Godzilla joke where it was cleric or druid and Druidzilla dominates. And but I appreciate but that also turns the game into rocket tag. The idea that it's Alpha Strike, hit hard, hit fast, blitz the damage out as fast as humanly possible, and the fight, which usually means because every player character is way more optimized than any monster manual, it forces us GMs to have to do stupid shit to have a fight last more than 2-3 rounds. We either need to flood the battlefield with lots of shit, or we have to overinflate their hit points and stats so they can last, or it turns into rocket tag. The villains have to hit hard in 1 or 2 rounds because that's the only point they're going to have anything meaningful to do, or the players are going to dominate, or they have to just be a fire hose, which that turns into video games where it's like, okay, guys, first phase, burn them down until we get to the second phase, at which point the monster's going to engage a heal or AoE or a block or some kind of effect. It's going to change the battlefield. We're all going to have to prepare for the next phase of combat. So we're all going to sit here, use that gap to buff or to redo buffs, do some minor heals, top up some people, drink potions if you can, guys. We're about to enter into the third phase, at which point we're going to burn them down and start hosing the damage in. Just open the fire hose up of damage and just start shooting that bad guy until he's dead. It's the Borderlands mentality of gameplay. No, thank you. Sometimes you just got to figure out the fine balance. But if you have, if 2 or 3 of your party has to actually, so if you lower the damage down a bit, the villains aren't dishing out the damage as hard. So a player might get hit hard, but not cripplingly bad. And it allows the healer players to actually step in and not feel like they have to either fight stand up and fight and try to and burn down the enemy. They can actually, their 20, 30 points of healing might actually mean something. Yeah, that might mean that our damage, that us GMs who are running it might have to lower our damages by a bit. And suddenly it's like, we're not hitting for 50, 60 a hit anymore, but we're sort of lower down to 20, 30, because you gotta realize that your players are 100 hit points. 3 20-point hits, might not seem like much, but that's still knocked off 60% of their hit points.
60% of the hit points is in the crapper now.
Right. But the thing here is that a lot of us see to build characters or NPCs that hit for 50, 30, 40, 50 points of damage in a single hit. Well, that 100, Well, suddenly a player who's the player mentality is, okay, I've got 100 hit. I'm just going to go with 100 hit points. So, 100% is a good number. For example, for doing a lecture, a 20-point hit is like, okay, I can take a 20-point hit, and another 20-point hit. Okay, I can take 3 more of those, and I'm still good. Which is the equivalency to going back to early days when you're at 10 points, you're taking a 2-point hit, a 2-point hit, a 2-point hit. Well, now it's like we're just higher level, numbers got bigger. But suddenly, if you're looking at same 100-point fighter gets hit for 50 or 55, he's now going, oh fuck, I can't take a second hit like that. And now the healer's going, my best healing does 20 to 35. And now you're suddenly looking at the idea of well, shit, casting heal won't do fucking garbage now because casting my cure spell won't do shit because the villain's just going to sit there and Sauron swing him up to the head again, boom, for another 50 points. But so lower our damage totals a little bit. Let the spread out the damage so it isn't just focus. We're not just focus firing. One fighter just crunching his head in with 40 point, just knock him into the ground. No, hit the fighter for 2 points and then smack and then smack the ranger for another 20. Spread it out a little bit because all the players got hit points and you might as well hurt them all mediocrely because the players are going to hit like anti-tank rifles. They're going to hit. They're going to smack. They're going to go for the maximum damage because they've built for it, and let them feel cool, but take some of the pressure off of the medic, so off of your cleric. I mean, so that way the cleric feels like his or her magic will actually be of value. If they've got channel positive energy, the AoE heal ability, make sure the damage you're dealing feels appropriate to their ability to keep up. So that way, not completely negate, but if they can heal back 35, 40 out of a 50-point hit, that makes them feel like, okay, I can't hold the line forever, but I'm slowing down what would be a 2-turn wipe and turn it into a 10-turn wipe. It was like now the timer isn't oh god we're all going to die. It's okay guys, don't fuck around, don't miss. Now you got players who aren't worried so much about okay, I have to hit every single hit every single round, and we need crits, or otherwise we're going to get wiped. It turns into, I can afford to miss a round. I can afford to miss 1 or 2 shots around. If I get 1 or 2 hits in a round, that's good. I'm working down hit points. I'm still valid, and this takes some of the pressure off of your players, which also reduces their need. The temptation to cheat, because you've taken the stakes down a hair. So where it's no longer, oh shit, I missed a single roll, now we all die, and now it's, I can afford to miss, I don't have to cheat. Because I understand, I as a GM know players cheat. Holy fuck, do they cheat? They all claim they don't cheat. They don't say they don't cheat, but they cheat. There's no way that they get 3 20s in a row. It never happens. Or if it does, it's so miraculous. But boy, I'm sorry. This is the 12, 16 or higher you've rolled in a round, my friend. Can I see your die?
Yeah.
And watch players go, yeah, hey, can I see your rolls? And honestly, while I know it's happening and I can call them out on being cheaters, it breaks the trust. It breaks part of it. I know they're doing it. They know I know they're doing it, and all I'm asking for is please, please, for the love of God, could you not be so obvious with your cheating? I know we're also have a hardline mentality of I don't like cheaters. I ban all cheaters, and you obviously don't know. You obviously have Saints as players, or you don't, or you're not watching as closely as you should be. And it's just that simple truth that this is what happens. But if you can ratchet back the tension, the stakes just a hair, the need to cheat goes away. It makes combat a little longer. It makes the healer a little more valuable. It makes the need to play rocket tag a little less. But it really isn't counter design. And this does go back to communication problem. All of this all links, all ties into each other into a greater whole. So I know it's not like I'm just ranting there, or just rolling, but this is like it's all part of a bigger problem that comes with the game.
We've had it at my table a couple times. There's a couple people I want to watch whenever they roll their die, because Brian Capron, if you're watching, Brian Capron, hey, how you doing, bud? But God damn it, I have to have somebody on you at all times, because go roll your die right there on your keyboard or your laptop before it's ended rolling. You're like, that's a 20. And just trying to remember, like, that's on video. It's on my channel. The first 2 years of my fucking YouTube channel, I've got that shit there. Tim Christ is a 20 on every side of his D20.
Hey, I've known players who have baked their dice to get better rolls. I know one player who made custom dice and then weighted his D20 so that way it rolled predominantly 20s. Then I found out about it and French ban that die. It's like, but it comes from the fact that some of us run high stakes games. It's just what we are, what we do, and and there's a certain point where you either create min-max monsters that hit for, I've got somewhere. Oh, where the hell do I have it here? I have a file I've listed off as exclusively known as I Hate You. And it's a character build that I figured out that literally can disintegrate Terrasks in 3 rounds. It's a solo build that disintegrates Terrasks. And it literally, the file literally is listed out as I Hate You. And it's like, if I ever encounter a GM who's like, no, I literally legitimately do not like this game or do not like what's going on here, I will pull this character out and go, no, this is all about literally how I'm going to now just disintegrate people, and it will be fun. But it sits there in the nuclear stockpile, in the nuclear bunker no, I have no reason to play this. This is a never to be used thing. It sits there. But it's there because of the fact that I know that eventually I'm going to have a GM who's going to run a game that's so brutal, so rocket taggy, that the only way to play is to go into the nuclear bunker and go pull out the Minuteman missile and going, this is the City Buster. You don't want me to use this. And the GM, oh yeah, I want to. All right, we're going to be playing Fallout after this, motherfucker. Okay. And then you fire it. And then you walk away from the table because you now know the game is no longer going to be fun from that point forward. I'm sure a lot of us have in our folders, in our files, something like that.
I have a tome which turns boys into men.
Yeah.
There's another one of these by Goodman Games I just discovered. Advanced Bestiary. This is
Yeah.
made by Green Ronin,
Yep.
and inside this is the pages stick together. My bad. Inside this is 100 different templates
Oh yeah.
that you can add onto any type of critter, monster, character in 3.5 Pathfinder. And your players, the munchkin fuckers they are, the optimized, I perfectly built my character to take out everything in the monster manual. And then you throw this in your game and you pop a Herald of the Apocalypse on them, and you just watch your players just dissolve into absolute fury as their character gets nailed to the dead character tree or railroad spike at the back of the game room, or maybe it's now attached to your paperweight at your desk. But you get all these wonderful, wonderful things. And like I said, if you read this book, you understand this book, Instrument of the Gods, this is not something you want to bring into your game. This,
No.
I don't know if you can see this. This is the character on the cover,
Yep.
and he is a CR29 worth 6.5 million XP.
Yeah.
So I just, if I need to break this out, it can get broke out pretty easily. I don't want to break it out.
No.
But if the Reagan option is the only option, well, Nancy, we tried. I like wages.
We'll meet again.
I make him roll 3 dice 6 for stats. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's the way a good GM should be, because that guy, he's laid out. If you want to sit at that table and partake in that game, you have to take this style of play. This style of play is the only accepted style of play I will accept for players at my table in this shared universe. And I like that. There are some GMs out there that don't have a spine. They're rather spongy. And they're like, well, it's 4 dice 6, take the best 3. And then someone has like a character straight 9s all the way down. Man, I got fucked. Well, can you re-roll? I don't want to roll like that. Well, fine. Roll 5d6. Take the best of the 3, and he just concedes the entire time. No, follow what Mage's Musings is doing. That guy's growing his channel on YouTube, by the way. And if you haven't subscribed to Mage's Musings, please subscribe. He's got good content. He's a good character. He's a wonderful individual to listen to. He gets on a few panels. You'll learn something. I'm telling you, go to his channel. You'll learn something. After that small shilling that I did there.
We all shill. So
No. Kai, have you ever thought about running a game where you handle the character sheets?
once or twice I've thought about it, but I've got enough other crap to juggle.
Okay.
If I was more less as much as if you've read through my musings, dear God, you'll notice the fact that I'm actually kind of scatterbrained and I'm all over the place. Hell, this conversation has been all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, this is how my brain functions. Trying to also run the story, run everything, and then also have to keep track of their character sheets at the same time. But now I have done a variation on that where they've made their characters and then I've written out what they've I don't want to say what they really are, but what I think they're going to be and what I want them to earn. or sorry, what them to unlock. I have set aside in a book, and as they do certain things, I pull from the book and unlock it, and go, hey, here's what you earned, here's the power, this is what you and let them figure out what they really are. That's what I've done. But most of the time, I stopped doing that one when I realized that some players don't follow. They don't realize that they need to do work to unlock shit. They're just there to play the game, and then when they level, they get their next step. That whatever depending on what game we're playing, because not just D20, but or D&D, but I've seen the same thing happen in any game that has XP. They don't put any extra work necessary besides get through the session, solve the problem, gain XP at the end of the session. Win. That's how they play. That's how they act. So when I put in all this bonus extra work that say, hey, if you put the extra mile in, you get more. And some players latch onto that. They will work their butt. They will figure out what the heck I've got planned for them, and then they will angle and aim right towards it, like laser focus, beeline, and they will hit all the milestones that I have somehow. But these are also players who've known me for years. They know how my brain works, so they know how. So they know what probably is my milestones that I've got set aside. So they're already working they've already working the equation. They're working the problem, and it's the new players who don't know me yet, who don't know all my quirks, who are going, what is he wanting from us? And I'm like, oh dear God. And then they suddenly go, why is so and so and so and so way more powerful than us? And I'm like going, because they've already done all their side quests. They're already at their apex. They're already at the best. They're not going to get better. You guys want to get better? We would like to get better. Could you hold our hands while? And I'm like, oh, come on, kiddos, let's go. And then I kind of look at the people who've done all their side quests and go, now that you've reached the top, go and help the ones who haven't figured it out yet. And they're like, but no, I didn't give you power power just for power's sake. I gave you powers to do cool things. Now go help your friends. Yeah, I know. It's kind of one of those, but I've also seen players who unfortunately get all the cool, do all the side quests, do all the cool milestone unlocks, and I'm sitting, and then pull the ladder up behind them, and let the rest of the party, flounder at basic game level play, and I'm sitting here going, that wasn't nice. That wasn't cool at all. Why did you be an ass? And then they give us and every player's got justification why they do it, and there's no lie and shame in saying that. There's just simple the truth. Players are going to, not everyone's going to be a good person. Not everyone is a good person at your table. So not everyone's going to think about, hey, now that I made it to the top, I could help my friends. No, they're going to go, it's me. And I'm like going, yeah, you're a dick. And now I gotta do more work while they run around like retards, and like I have all the power, I'm more amazing, and then because they've had it for longer, they're further ahead than everybody else, and it's hard for everybody else to catch up. And then I, as a GM, have to do more work. This is why I stopped doing that a lot. I still have avenues to pursue it, but realizing that out of a table of 8 people, 2 are going to figure it out, 4 will figure it out if they're motivated, and 2 will never figure it out. They're just going to be They're support characters who are just there to go, we're in the background. Or every once in a while go, ha, I'm in danger. Yeah, you are.
I got that. I caught that reference. We're probably not going to have time to do all this, and we're gonna cut off. We're not going to go further on the Discord, but I do want to
do more into the future.
Yeah, in the future, I want to do this again in 2 weeks because I'll have that night off. And this is from the 2nd of October, 22.
We did it one day. We made it one day through that whole thing.
Yeah, I love the fact you did that whole thing in one day. One thing I want to do with my campaign from now on, like I got a guy at my table that I like quite a bit. He used to be my roommate, Brooke, and Brooke will have a thief.
Good night, Flatey.
What?
Good night, Flatey.
Night, Flatey. Hey, man, get. You are leaving at the 2 hour 45-minute mark. 2 hours 45-minute mark when you want to catch up with us. Brooke is a sneaky bastard in my game right now, and he does that entire. I move 5 feet and give me a stealth. Give me a chance to reroll my stealth, and so he does that. And I've noticed that a lot of people, whenever I set up my table, I was making my monsters the center of the table, and my players were very happy to just go around the border of the table and try to stay out of the way and think that border is a wall and no monster can approach them from there and they are safe. Don't do that. I'm telling you, as GMs, inexperienced GMs, always make the players the focus of your table, of your camera. Make them the focus. So whenever you have like a situation, like I was talking in Legion of Myths chat last night, and I want from now on, whenever I'm doing like I'm letting Red Leaf do his sneaky material things, I'm not going to let him have the table. I'm going to do theater of the mind and just take notes with like, hey, how many bad guys are around you? There's 6. Okay, well, there's 6 bad guys around me. I need to be rolling my stealth. And so I will no longer let him roll his stealth checks. I'm going to roll the stealth checks for him behind a shield, because this needs to be something that when you're doing this in a game, you want your player's asshole to be puckered, because he doesn't know if he succeeds or if he fails. All he knows is by the reaction of the individuals around him and his intended target. And once he gets to that location to where either he's doing a sleight of hand check or he's doing a backstab maneuver, which in Pathfinder is kind of weird, and in 3X backstab is kind of unusual. But if you hold out and do theater of the mind up until the point where the combat dice are rolled for the attack or the sleight of hand, at that point, then put out the miniatures. But up until that point where that axe drops or that blade gets put through their ribs, don't put the miniatures on the table. Only put miniatures on the table when it's something that's imperative. If you're running a game, if you're using like one of those little Logitech 1080 cameras, you don't put the characters on. You don't have to detail every combat environment you have. You just line your characters up in the middle and let the camera focus on them and make them the big damn heroes for the game, for the people at home, and make them feel like they're doing theater of the mind, because you should be for most of everything until the point when you have to roll combat. When you do combat on the miniature side of things, make the characters' placement in the center of the table. And what I'm going to do from now on is I'm not going to use my grid. I'm not going to use my grid. I'm going to instead be tearing out sheets from a journal or for a drawing tablet and putting that to use. Draw that out, set that down, place characters and terrain on that. But when the characters have to move to a new spot, I can scroll it away, or I can put another sheet of paper next to it and do that.
That sounds a lot like the floating mat concept. The idea that the I like it. It's a really cool idea. I really do like it. So yes,
And the reason why I want to do that is because I don't want to give my players the safety of quote unquote the borders where the walls are. I don't want them to have that. Even Connell, who's in chat, I want his character Chance to be relatively in the middle of the table where possibly he could be beset on all sides by beholders and fire giants, and his tender asshole could be pureed and chummed up for displacer beasts. I think that needs to be how I'm going to run it now, and I know this sounds really weird. Tomorrow, I'm going to be making cutouts and templates for fireballs and channel positives and 40 foot diameter spheres and things like that, because I'm going to be using templates from now on instead of trying to draw out. I don't like hex grids. I don't like the square grids. I want to get more skirmish game with my tabletop. And I know some people are like, that's just with extra steps. The grid's already there. It's preset. Well, that's fine. But with this, I can actually draw some maps out beforehand with a floating map. I can actually do preparations beforehand. And so I can then put the characters down on it, get the characters to be focused on it, get the camera on it. People will actually see a small speed up in gameplay once I get used to this. And I found that when I was running the beta test for the game I'm intending to run exclusively after this campaign, when I was doing the measurements, when I was throwing out the tape measure, I was hearing people go, "Oh my God, this works." And that was what I was reading in the comments. And not a lot of people use tape measures because they feel that's kind of outside of their wheelhouse. Get back to the tape measures, get off the grids, get off the hexes, and use templates. It will help speed up gameplay. And plus the fact that whenever you're doing that, if you're running a game at home for friends online, you're the only one touching the characters. So you don't have to worry about, like, say, if your buddy Tim is like trying to reposition a character and trying to cheat. No, dude, here's your 6 inches of movement for this move action. That's all you get. And you lay that out there, and that's just how far he goes. Typically in war games, when you're doing movement like that, up to a 1/4 inch is acceptable for cheating or fudging. But any more than a 1/4 inch, most people, there's like a bit of a reprimand that comes out. But I think that is going to be how I'm going to be running my game from now on. It will be much to my enjoyment, and it's going to be weird for some people that are not used to that style of setup. But one, I've got a grid that I've been using for over 7 years, and it's got so many old marker spots on it, it kind of looks like shit. I hate to say that, but it does. And I just bought some new markers, and I don't want to, like, I just would rather use this system, and I think that's going to help out my game quite a bit. Plus, in my game, I have 9 players. Like I said, I have 2 clerics in my game. That's Janet. That's Travis. Chris has a cohort that's a cleric, or no, he's a priest. And the difference between a priest and a cleric in Pathfinder is a D8 for channel positive energy versus a standard D6. And it works out fairly well. He gets some other small bonuses. He's a cloistered individual, so he has like Bard's knowledge as a lore ability, and then he has no ability to wear medium armor. Yeah. And Maze's Musing says the Crayola washables, they come out really well. They do, but after 7 years on the same grid mat from Chessex, I think I've made some of them no staining with Crayola. Okay. Maybe I'll have to go over it again with some bleach or something to clean it up. But I want to try this theory where I just draw out the map, draw out the building without squares. And that way we don't have like a world full of perfect 40-foot by 30-foot buildings. Instead, they will be a little like non quote unquote regulation size. And I like that idea.
I can live with that.
Everybody that came in here tonight, I really appreciate everything that happened. For those of you that helped out with the super chats, and that would be the Cracking Gamer, really want to say thank you again for that. Our mutual friend will appreciate this token, and hopefully he can get himself back up. He's just been ill. He's had a few job challenges lately, and the guy just needs to get his head together in the game. And I want him to succeed. But whenever I say I want someone to succeed, I need them to be challenged. And sometimes people mistake challenges for why is God punishing me? And it's not really why is God punishing you, but why would you complain about being given an opportunity to make yourself better? And I know that sounds like a tough love position. I don't wish any ill on him. I don't wish any negativity on him. What I want him to do is come out of this battered, a little bruised, but able to further push and provide for himself and his family, and be more, I guess, have a broader skill set with a deeper understanding of the specialization he has. It was nothing really spicy. We have a good friend that's in need right now, and so tonight's stream, anything that we had happen was going to get funneled directly to my friend who is part of this channel. So I want him to know that he's loved, he's taken care of, and we're gonna get some money in his pocket here. Everybody, Mage's Musings, Lady One, I know you're gone. Six Nation 31 Kings, Mike Dimart, Mobius, Tim Christ, Connell, and everybody climbing that mountain, Omanal, everybody that came in tonight. I wish I could give you a firm handshake or a beer. Hi, thank you for doing this with me and having a wonderful time with this chat, going over your brain droppings that you put in the chat for us. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun talking for it. It was really nice. I look forward to doing it again in a couple weeks.
I think that'll be a thing. I really do. This was a lot of fun. We started at 9 and it's almost midnight here. Everybody, if you're hearing my voice, if you have questions, drop us some questions in the comments. We will review them on the air next time. We'll even discuss them. And I want to also, I know Flady's not here, but if he watches this later, he's been going through my back catalog of older game videos. And I'm talking about when I was in Deer Creek, Illinois. Appreciate you going through those. He's been commenting like crazy on there. Let me pull one of these up real quick. He just had I think he did a heart comment on a couple of them. He watched Jonalia, which was Garrett's wife, her monk character, and he watched her kill off a gargantuan white dragon back in the day. It was a fifth book of Rise of the Rune Lords that we were playing, and she did that. I was kind of snarky and I was upset because she killed it kind of easily, but I didn't realize with eight characters in the mix, there's a lot. I mean, here's Flady just commenting on older stuff, and he's talking about how people are having a good time fighting Khymerion in that old channel. Just going to go to the date on this. And this was uploaded 13 years ago. There's my old table. Russ, Jonalia, Zine, Baron G-Rock, Becky, Niles, my old roommate, and there's Robert. But if you're bored and you have time, go ahead and swing over to my old channel, or to my channel, and some of my old stuff. If you want to watch us try to play through other games, I've got playlists for days. Also, if you want to read on things we're discussing here, and this set of videos I'm doing right now, we are actually going through a sub channel on my Discord where Khymerion has pretty much all the ability to just use as a diary, because he's got some ideas for games and gaming. And I think if you guys want to read through that, it might help you out. It might give you a perspective to where you're not going to find yourself being so crazy when you're obsessed over something, trying to peel some game rules apart and put it into a narrative, and then trying to impart it to your players and make it to where they can see the problems that you're envisioning in your head. I think that's pretty awesome. Six Nations 31 Kings will close out the night. It was a pleasure as usual. Great stream, panel, chat. Thank you for sharing the time. Have a safe and awesome Independence Day for those of you here in the States. For those abroad, we love you. Game on. Thank you, everybody. Kai?
Keep your fingers on.